Film. It's been a mess lately, hasn't it, guys?
Yeah, it has.
Lovely.
Not so not so much in there. Sorry, I lost my train of thought then. Um, but yeah, it's mostly um like catering towards the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I feel like that's going to be like the major topic that's going to take the brunt of this video.
Yeah, there's some mixed feelings about some casting choices. There's some mixed feelings about some executive choices here lately. And in general, since like the COVID era, film has felt kind of stale and sterile to a lot of us. And I feel like personally, like I'm the one that kind of brought a decent chunk of this with a TikTok I put up. And I know a lot of the guys have also had like mixed feelings about certain things in the MCU as well and how they've handled a lot of the decisions. But also like overall, I I personally am a big fan of like schlocky B horror, right? And I feel like
Yeah,
they are more willing to take the risk and the adverse reaction from the audience than say your $1 billion company that could sit there and have a few flops because they took that risk, right?
yeah.
And I very much want to I put it in like the chat earlier today that screenshot from the channel account where the dance from Deadpool and Wolverine, the intro that's been all over the fucking internet, um, it was filmed in front of a blue screen. What is preventing a $1 billion company like Disney or Marvel from filming that in a random woods or a random forest where they were shooting most of the
Um,
film?
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here and say, I guess maybe because like if you're doing it outside, there's only like in a real woods, there's limitations that you're gonna have. For example, like I feel like they probably wanted to have control over like the lighting. Um, or the technical aspects because if you're dealing with outside stuff, then you kind of are restricted by like, for example, if you wanted like say the dance during the day, you only have a set amount of hours.
Right. I feel that side of it. But like they could have I know part of it comes down to the fact that there was a fight going on during the intro as well. And it's choreographed to Bye 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 by NSYNC. If you've seen the film, you know the entirety of what I'm referring to here. But they put the behind the scenes like blue screen, test clip up on Twitter or screenshot of it anyway. And like I understand like for the fight portion of it, they would need to use like, you know, VFX in general, right? Whatever you want to put it into. But the dance aspect of it, like that the dance scenes themselves could have been done practically and then they could have interloped that between or I know I'm probably pronouncing the word wrong. I'm sorry. My weak American brain only functions so much without a lot of caffeine. Um but like they could have done like the dance portion of it and then the fight portions of it separately, right? Um,
Yeah,
and that would have made it feel a little more natural. And then they could have taken the scenery and or blue screen the scenery from the actual woods in. It feels like the art of practical film is left solely to indie film anymore. Like your A24 is the biggest studio that you'll see doing some level of practical effects and practical shots now. If your Marvels, your DCs, your Disneys, all of that, like all it seems to be like blue screen hell. And we've seen like legendary actors like Ian McKellen and all of the people that were involved in like the Lord of the Rings movies entirely were just depressed doing um, that type of work, and it is sad that we're losing that art, that side of it, to me. It's the same way like I feel about 2D animation. Like everything is like 3D with a 2D filter over it now. You don't really have traditional 2D that often. It feels like a lost art. And I feel like the
yeah,
more we go on in time, we're going to continue to lose little aspects of what made cinema itself so magical.
yeah. And to go off on your point about the 2D animation, I feel like that's more to do with the fact of like a lot of adults only see their mindsets are like only seeing like, okay, this is 2D, this is a cartoon, it's not going to be for me. Whereas like 3D, like, oh, that's played more to our mindsets, if that makes sense.
Yes, it
and
kind of does.
And that's the thing, because the adults are the ones that it all comes down to money at the end of the day. Let's be honest here. It all comes down to money at the end of the day, and like how much backing, how much can we get back from what we've invested in this product.
That's fair. That's a fair point and everything. And I hate that the arts have become so commodified to this point of like, I want number to go up and only up. Because we've seen like even Disney and Pixar and them say like, we're not going to be taking as many risks now. We're going to do more safe sequels. And this is a studio that at one point almost lost the entirety of it based on losing files for Toy Story, right? And now they don't want to take any risks because people don't want to see original films, which is absolute bullshit. People want to see original films when they're good. They don't want to see, random trash thrown together and create Nomura's brainchild for the film and Wish, right? Like, nobody has talked about Wish outside of a podcast like this, right? Nobody has really brought up how good of a movie it is or how bad of a movie it is, because it was just an average film meant to celebrate 100 years of Disney. And all it did was serve as an anchor point to create like a Disney animated cinematic universe. That was the main takeaway at the end, that they can turn that into the Disney cinematic universe in an era where the cinematic universe model is very much failing, as you see in the MCU and you saw with the DCEU. So, like, remember the Dark Universe?
What?
What?
So the Dark Universe was the cinematic universe that was meant to have all of the monsters in it, right? Like the creature from the Black Lagoon.
I think I remember what
the mummy,
I remember it now.
Yeah, so that didn't fucking happen. The 5 times they tried to get that off the ground. It was Valiant. There was the other comic studio that tried to, during COVID, create a cinematic universe with Bloodshot, with Vin Diesel playing the role of Bloodshot. And that movie tanked so bad they scrapped the entire plans for it.
Yeah, but also as well, to go off on the fact of what you said about people wanting to see original ideas. This goes to a video that I linked to you, Vex, about the writer of the film, writer of Sinister and the first Doctor Strange film, C. Robert Cargill, who started off as a film critic and then worked his way into writing films. And what he said in the interview is really fascinating, because one of the myths that he found that was debunked was that Hollywood doesn't have original ideas. They have, according to him, they have original ideas, but people don't want to see these original ideas because they want to know what they're getting in advance. So, like, if you have an original idea that's really well made and constructed, but people just don't know what it's about, are they really going to go and see it?
That's a fair analysis.
That's really a shame. That's really a shame, because say what you want about this film series, but the way I got into the paranormal, I'm kind of using this as kind of like, I know it's kind of like a weird series to talk about, but the Paranormal Activity film series, the reason I got hooked on that series in the first place was because I went into it on a whim. I did not know anything about it. I was just told, like, hey, this film's coming out. I think it might be up your alley, Luke. And I said, okay, I'll go and see it. Didn't see any trailers or anything, and it was me and about 2 others in the cinema. And at the time, it was like the scariest thing I'd ever seen, because it's like complete black, and this was when I was at university or college if you're in America, And to see that film and then go back to my accommodation where there's a dark alleyway, a dark hallway, it kind of like had a bit of an impact on me. So I was like, and just having that experience of just seeing something that was, I didn't know anything about what I was getting into. I feel like a lot of people have lost that kind of like ability to just jump into something, and you see that all the time, not just with movies but with like anime and manga, where you have someone telling people like, oh, just go and check this out, just go and check it out. Okay, what is it about? Like, I can't really explain anything to you, just check it out. And they're like, oh, I'll check it out later on, blah blah blah,
And then your
and they never
backlog
check it
becomes
out.
like fucking 10
Yeah.
pages long. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like our generation is the last generation that's really super willing to go and take risks for stuff like that. Or, oh, and there's a party jams. I feel like our generation is like the last is really willing to take the risk of like, oh, this might suck, but we can have fun with it anyway. The first date I had with my current partner was for the movie Argyle, right?
Okay.
We both love crappy B movies. We both were willing to go and see this despite knowing fuck all about it other than it's a spy movie with a cat, right? And that was the whole plot of it. It was originally, I think, an Apple TV movie, and it also got a release in theaters. I knew of the director, Matthew Vaughn. I knew he did a lot of the Kingsman stuff. I know he's been kind of hit and miss in what he's done. But I had no idea whatsoever when we went to see it that it was actually going to tie into Kingsman. Spoilers for a movie that's been out for like a year and a half at this point. I had no idea it was going to tie into Kingsman. I had no idea like what to expect other than like the very, very brief blip I saw on TikTok. That's how I knew about it. I saw like a little like 30-second ad on TikTok for it when it was on Apple TV Plus, and I had no idea it was going to even go into the theaters because I thought we were past this like double release stuff that we were doing during COVID. But you know, it was a good movie. It wasn't great. It was funny, and we were able to make like a lasting relationship out of just making fun of silly B movies too. Like that was like a lot of our like. What we did for the first couple months of dating was just watch like silly B movies and play silly games together, because like we're willing to take the risk of not knowing what's going on with it, and we're willing to take the risk of not enjoying everything that we do but making the best out of that, right? I feel like that's something that was lost on like later Gen Z and Gen Alpha. I feel like a boomer saying that, but if you look at it, you'll see people like, even in like TikTok comments and Instagram comments and YouTube comments, like, can somebody sum this up for me? I don't want to waste 2 hours on it. Like, there's no attention span whatsoever. There's no willingness to take that investment of time. And I understand, like, we as a species have limited time here, but if we're not experiencing something, then what are we even living for? And that's kind of fallen into the film industry as a whole here too, where like we're playing every film super safe and super sterile and not deviating from the norm of what's trending right now. Look to now where we're casting Robert Downey Jr., and I'm sorry, this is a stupid casting, as Doctor Doom, because to anybody in our generation, what do you associate Robert Downey Jr. with?
Iron Man,
Oppenheimer,
Tropic Thunder.
Well, Sherlock Holmes.
Okay, you're the outlier there.
Yeah.
But like for the vast majority of the population, you see Robert Downey Jr.'s face, you're like, oh, that's the dude that played Iron Man, right?
Well, yeah.
Like that's where I feel like this casting has fallen, and they're relying on that instantaneous nostalgia for something that isn't even removed 15 years, right? And that's the industry playing it safe because they know that he will sell tickets because people are clamoring for him to come back in some capacity. But when you have that marketability solely on the face of him and he's not returning to that role, how many people are expecting him to pop up and say, I am Iron Man again? How many people are expecting him to be a variant? Like, how many people are actually expecting him to play the role of Doom beyond the sarcastic, douchey role that he was as Tony Stark for the vast majority of his career there? Because realistically, in the MCU, he has played a one-note character. As much as I love him as Iron Man, he is that snarky, douchey person. And Doctor Doom is a cold, calculated person. He is this very much in the span of wanting to sit down and dominate through the actual caring nature for his nation, right? He's not going to sit there and make quips every 2 minutes. So I feel like that's kind of wasted there. I know Robert Downey Jr. is capable of being more than a one-note character, but it just feels like super out of place for that particular brand of his acting. That's just my opinion. I don't want to get roasted on 4 different platforms for this take.
Oh, you'll get roasted anyway because
Surprise German here.
Surprise German.
Well, you have the surprise German here.
I mean, it's better than surprise butt sex. Anyway,
Well, we can have both if you want to.
get on a plane, buddy. But like,
if you provide, I'll gladly take.
Me and my $50 to my name right now. Yeah, absolutely, I'm doing that.
Hey, I'm in the minus, so Wunderschön.
I know.
But
I'm going to be
So
negative
me and
tomorrow
Barbara
until
got
I
here
get my pay.
late. What is the topic? Just about the new casting, or do we have like a whole list of like movies?
It's just
It's
just
like the
general
film
movie
industry.
stuff.
It's
Okay.
the trends of the film industry is what we were talking about.
Yeah,
And
and also, oh, go ahead.
we kind of got into the like Marvel side of things really early on to drown out the Marvel drones. But it's interesting to say the least. I'm not going to say I'm going to tune out of the MCU completely. I'm still going to have a morbid curiosity for what they do, but it's very one note, and it's everything that has been in the fucking multiverse saga feels like it's been wasted on one spot cameos and fan casting.
As an outsider to the MCU, I can say I finally know how outside to the Kingdom Hearts community feel, because what the actual fuck is happening over there?
It's a struggle.
Okay. To give you context, the main big bad of the multiverse saga in the MCU, the one that's just the one that was advertised like the next big bad after Thanos, the actor had a bit of legal issues and was like, yeah, we don't want to associate you, we don't want to be associated with you anymore. So they're kind of scrapping their initial plans in favor of like, okay, what can we do? Who's the who's the next one after it? Doctor Doom, we'll use him. Like, who can play it? Robert Downey Jr.
Right.
Yeah, I saw that Robert Downey Jr. plays it, but like, I mean, in general, like, as all of us, like, Phase 4, I think it is called.
I think we're heading into Phase 5 at this point, honestly. I've lost track.
From an outsider's perspective, the first 3 phases I could follow them, but like, Phase 4, it really is like, for people most likely say Kingdom Hearts or like Fate lore.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. There's just, like Vex said before, there's just so many things out there that it's kind of hard to keep track sometimes. And also,
imagine when you include the games. Imagine you need to play the Guardians of the Galaxy game to understand this, to understand Phase 4.
Yeah.
So
and also
to clarify, we are technically in Phase 5. So Phase 5 was Ant-Man and the Wasp, Guardians of the Galaxy, The Marvels, Deadpool and Wolverine, Captain America, Brave New World, and the Thunderbolts. That's what's going to wrap that up. And
I forgot how much they delayed the Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
God, yes. And then we'll have the Agatha series being one of the TV series, which she did not need her own fucking series.
Why does she need it?
Like,
They're
what
just
she
trying
did.
to get the WandaVision success to continue.
I don't even know who that is.
It's the villain that was in the WandaVision Disney Plus show. Eyes of Wakanda.
Now explain that again in reference if you do not watch that series.
Okay,
So
basically, remember Wanda from like Scarlet Witch from the movies? Like after like Vision was dead, she went crazy and like hypnotized the whole town to live a sitcom life. and that was
That's
the TV.
that's the person from like you took everything away from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Alright.
woman. Basically,
need
she
to
had her own
explain-
show going
I'm like this
crazy,
kind
and
of
the
fan
villain from
who-
that show is getting a spin-off.
I'm like the crazy person whom do you need to explain everything in meme terms.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah.
we also have Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which is the animated series, is kind of continuing possibly the old 90s cartoon, but maybe not. It might be its own little thing. Daredevil Born Again, which will be an 18-episode miniseries. Released in 2 9-episode.
is not a miniseries. That's a series.
Yes.
Yeah, well, they're doing it in 2 9-episode batches, is why I said miniseries. Ironheart, which again, character didn't need its own goddamn spinoff. I'm sorry. Is getting a 6-episode miniseries.
Well, technically,
You are just throwing buzzwords around.
Actually, Vex, I've just got to point something out there. When you say mini-series. The Brits will take offense to that because literally half the shows over here are 6-episode seasons.
Yeah, I
remember
also
you telling
watched
me.
Sherlock, and I've also watched Midsummer with my mom, so I know the British TV shows are like really short in their season count. But to an American standpoint, before fucking streaming services anyway, we used to have 22 episode seasons. Now we're lucky if we get 5 a year.
Yeah,
Yep.
which
I just watched Dragon Prince, and its season was like 9 episodes, and I'm like, well, that was a nice afternoon.
We'll see you again in 2027.
also as well, Vex. I've just got to say something since you mentioned Midsummer's that you've watched. I'm surprised Sean Bean hasn't played a guest star in that.
He just played one of the corpses. It's his whole. It's his whole brand.
Yeah.
But like, after all of that, right? I think we will start the next phase with fucking Fantastic Four. I gotta skip to the top of this Wikipedia line out.
Well, while you're doing that, I'll just say what I wanted to say in regards to Kang the Conqueror basically being sidelined. I really think they should have just you know what? Yeah, you know what? We're just going to recast him and carry on with the plans that we had in place.
It's more that they use the likeness of him for almost all of the variants, right? I think is why they kind of said, well, shit, now we got to correct it. Because if you look in Ant-Man 3, Quantumania, which was just Star Wars with the fucking Ant-Man label slapped on it, I'm not sorry, you pretty much see 1,000 Jonathan Major clones. So they really couldn't without changing the likeness. And it's not like we're back in the early phases where we can recast like we did with Rhodey, for example, or the Hulk.
Yeah.
Which I think is stupid because
I think that
we could
they have
correct it.
precedent to do that.
I mean, honestly, I think they could still do it. They could, considering how many multiversal beings that
Nonsense
exist
exists.
in the Marvel universe, they could probably find one from one obscure comic that just likes to mess around with reality, like a Marvel mix.
I warped all of reality to make all the Kang clones look like me, and I am also not Jonathan Majors.
Or here's what they could have done, because in the comics there's multiple versions of the Infinity Stones. Just get a reality stone from another universe and just bring it into this universe.
Right, literally, there are a million conveniences.
It's like comic book rules. You can just do what you want.
I mean, Ben 10 could explain this away, so why not Marvel?
There are a million more convenient ways to do it, but they chose this route. So yeah, Phase 6 is Fantastic Four.
I don't even mind Doctor Doom being the next villain, because I like Doctor Doom as a character, but it's weird to have RDJ step into the role because
to be fair, there is devil's advocate here. Me playing, there was the comic series where Doctor Doom was Iron Man.
Yeah, Vex sent me that on TikTok, actually. It was a good overview. Yeah. But even then, Vex and I were talking in one of the server chats, I think, for like live action. Like DC, some of like DC's recent stuff that have been like really good have not been like their movies, like The Flash or Blue Beetle. It's actually been like their independent projects, like the Joker movies, the Batman, and the My Adventures with Superman cartoon that's going on. And none of that's connected to any of their like larger cinematic whatever they're trying to do now with James Gunn. So it almost feels like with everything Vex was listing with like phase 4 and what's coming up with phase 5. Yeah, he said phase 5. So with phase 5, like instead of doing that, if we're at a point where we have to recast a villain, maybe they just have some of their projects that aren't connected to anything. Because like the Spider-Man cartoon you were mentioning, that's a continuation from like an old cartoon, and they want to try to reintegrate this. But
Well,
why?
I mean, they did it with X-Men '97, and X-Men '97 was phenomenal. But I'm also biased because I'm a huge mutant fan, right? I love the
Right.
mutants.
I mean, to be honest, I also found that weird. But like Spider-Verse exists independently, as far as I understand it. And if it does, and it's like again, arguably one of Marvel's best things out right now, then I don't see why they couldn't just like not integrate every project into like this thing.
Yeah.
I think that would be easier to manage.
Well, at the end of the day, they kind of did integrate a lot of stuff in across the Spider-Verse and all of that because they brought in all of the, and it's because of the branding of it. Is like the Spider-Verse is the Spider Multiverse, right? You have a Spider-Man for everything. They had stuff from like Spectacular Spider-Man, Insomniac Spider-Man. They had the Peter Porker. They had all of that in there, but it's a self-contained project in of itself where all of these different Spider-Men come in. Right, you could do the same thing with a lot of these other projects and make it seem more contained, but also they have the rules of comics, right? I read like Secret War back when it like the Jonathan Hickman Secret War back in like 2015 2016 when it was coming out. I was in the trenches for that, which is the fallout from what is arguably probably what they're going to take liberties with, not fully adapt. They're going to take liberties with the infamous Iron Man stuff where Doom takes over the role of Iron Man, right? To kind of explain this away. And then, like, Secret War kind of was part of the fallout of that. But to adapt Secret War, which is the movie after Doomsday, which is the one where RDJ is going to be playing Doctor Doom, they technically also theoretically need an Iron Man if they're taking it off of the Hickman run, right? The more modern take on Secret War. And that's why I had like the meme of fucking the Always Sunny meme that I put in the live action chat, and I'm like, I don't picture Marvel not doing that. Because like, why cast two separate actors when they could just have the same actor play both roles? Like, literally, because like the entire plot of that is for Civil War 2 and everything that will lead out of that is you need a Iron Man and you need and you need Carol Danvers to have their little blow up about different ideologies, and then that also usually, depending on if they want to go the route that it's supposed to, will end with Iron Man incapacitated again, and he just becomes like AI integrated into his fucking armor. But anyway, like that's a whole bag of worms that will be like 10 years down the line if Marvel's cinematic universe even lasts that long. But I don't picture, like, if they continue to have the bad faith come out of all of this and keep taking missteps as massive as they have, I don't picture this project lasting as long. But they also have that one lovely thing that every comic universe has, and it's the reset button. They could just nuke it. They could have their own like clash, and it can reset the universe, and it can be a whole new cast, a whole new crew, and they could just reset it like the comics. And as much as I like the fact that this was a way for people to start getting into comics based off of whatever stories they were telling, it has become literal homework to get invested in the MCU outside of that, just like it did with comics. When you have something go on for too long, where is your jumping on point? Where is your clean point of entry? And you don't really have one right now because everything is so interwoven that you kind of need to sit down and study for this like it's your damn capstone project in college, right?
Yeah, and it goes to another point that I wanted to bring up as well. That I just had in the back of my mind, and thank God we're doing this because now I can bring it up. the disintegration of standalone movies, because everything nowadays, oh, when's the next one coming out? When's the next one coming out? When's the next one coming out? And it's just like, can't we just have like one self-contained flick where there's no sequels, no setups for anything else?
And think about like from the perspective of like other film universes right now, right? I don't know how many people pay attention to it. I feel like I might be one of the only ones in this call, but the Resident Evil movies, right? And
Can't say I've watched them.
you've watched them, but like
Yeah, they're on my list, but
Okay.
I have not seen them yet.
okay, so
I have watched the old ones.
okay, so that's exactly where I'm taking this topic. So you have the original like early 2000s to like I think the last one was 2018 Resident Evil movies. Now you can say they're shit because they are arguably shit, but they did reinvigorate the interest in that franchise as they continued, right? You pushed sales towards Capcom with those movies. As much as those movies deviated so heavily from the overall plot of the like Resident Evil games. Like they took inspiration, whether you had Nemesis, you had the Lickers, you had fucking Tyrant, you had all this stuff pop up, you had Wesker, what have you. But like they were very much self-contained, but they still were able to tell the story of Resident Evil. And they were able to do it well enough to bring people into that. Like Party James was saying, like with the DC projects that are doing really well, you have those self-contained universes. Like I have basically no interest in Superman as a character. I think he is boring. I think he is worthless. He's an overpowered brute for just the sake of being overpowered brute in most of the ways he's been told. But when he's told well, like when his character has actually sat down and made human and made to actually be appealing, like All-Star Superman, I think it was like 2-3 years ago, the All-Star Superman comic, that went super viral all over the internet. I actually sat down and read the trade paperback of that recently, because I have the DC Universe Infinite subscription, so I read through that run, and it is probably one of the best Superman comics I've ever read, and I have read them sporadically throughout, like dealing with events and shit, right? Like I'm a DC simp in that regard, but like sitting down and watching the Adventures of Superman cartoon, that is Superman done well. Like that made me actually care about the character, right? That made me want to go and read more Superman for more modern runs. And then you sit down and you realize like this is still a mixed bag, but it still did the job of getting me interested in that. The Blue Beetle movie, I don't give a fucking shit about Blue Beetle as a character, really. Outside of like Injustice, I didn't even really have a lot of knowledge of him until like Young Justice and all of that, right? Like that movie was actually good. Like I'm sorry, it was actually pretty good. So I went and I read a couple Blue Beetle comics. That's the point of these movies, is driving people towards the other medias too. And I feel like a lot of these other like contained universes fail at bringing people in. But at the same time, like DC's done it well, like the Resident Evil has done it well. I feel like Marvel needs to do more stuff like that. And the best example of it we've had recently was X-Men 97, I feel like that reinvigorated a lot of people to go back and read certain runs of the comics. And it brought people into the Krakoan era, which is arguably some of the best modern X-Men comics in history, in my opinion. I will definitely like sing the praises of like the House of X line of comics, all the Krakoan era stuff, until I'm blue in the face. Like that is what really drove me back into Marvel as a comic publisher. And it's been a mixed bag on a lot of the other stuff. Like Spider-Man fans are suffering. Like they don't know what to do with that fucking character, and it's surprising. The Ultimate Universe.
Spider-Man's fans of the multiverse from Sony.
Yeah,
Miles Morales movies. I think most Spider-Man fans don't care for the MCU anymore. We have a better alternative.
Yeah,
and I feel like one other franchise that has been doing it well recently, in terms of getting people more interested in the product, beyond with like the games and the TV series, and it's a good job Pie Jams is here because I think you know what's coming. That I'm going to say is the Sonic movies.
Oh, I'll be honest, I thought you were going to talk about Godzilla, but yeah, Sonic 2.
Yeah,
The Godzilla movies are awesome, all right.
oh yeah, Godzilla movies, but the Sonic movies, I feel like a lot of people now, because they've got that really good representation of Sonic on the big screen. Finally,
Oh yeah, like we got a
that-
lot of new like fans from that. Like the last game, Frontiers, like is like one of the best-selling 3D games, and that's not just because it was a step up as the game, but because there's new people interested in the franchise. And you know, this will be probably more in our gaming podcast, but with like recent news we've learned about Mario and Sonic as an IP, it's like, wow, they picked the worst time to not make a new Olympics game.
yeah.
Because of how big Sonic is at the moment. But
Touch more on
yeah,
that.
weirdly enough, Luke, I thought you were setting me up for Godzilla because that's what came to mind when.
Oh
Ben was talking.
no,
Like,
it wasn't.
But still, I think you picked a good example.
Yeah, like the Godzilla movies, they're kind of a mixed bag depending on like your opinion of the American ones, but I find them dumb fun. Like I love the
Yeah, me
MonsterVerse,
too.
but I know there's a lot of detractors for them because like they're not gritty and dark, and like you can have
Oh
fun
my God.
too.
Oh,
You can
oh my
have
God.
fucking fun too. You don't need everything to be this grim dark fantasy world like it's a
Yeah.
damn Soulsborne game.
That is that. Sorry
Don't
to
need
clarify.
kaiju Game of Thrones.
Yeah. I'm
That
sorry.
sounds so based, by the way. I want Kaiju Game of Thrones. Wait, that's my D&D campaign.
Go ahead.
Don't
Luke, you were trying to say
don't
something.
give George R. R. Martin any more ideas. He needs to finish his
Oh.
goddamn book.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't. Fuck George R. R. Martin. He did Elden Ring. He can go. He can stop working.
But yeah, you've basically just hit the nail on the head there, Fex. Like, not everything needs to be like this dark, gritty series. Because if you make something like with the intention of like, we want to make this dark, gritty, and try and make it more serious, it ends up being like the most childish thing ever. And nowhere is that more emphasized than because I recently managed to watch it myself. The Power Rangers, that Power Rangers parody fan film where you have Zack, the Black Ranger, doing drugs and basically ripping off people's heads, and they're like, and people saying, "This is the serious Power Rangers thing that we wanted." Forever. And then the guy who made it says, I'm not a Power Rangers fan. I did this as a parody because it's how people react to gritty tonal reboots. And it's just like, can't we have something that's like, yeah, serious from time to time, but also knows how to have fun?
Yeah, that's like the 80 Shankar was the one that did that. And he was the one that kind of spearheaded the bootleg universe, and he also spun into doing the like Castlevania, Blood of Zeus, that kind of thing. Hey, Zangetsu, I'm trying to fix your permissions for that chat as well. While I'm in here.
Yeah, that's a Chill Zone chat. Everybody has permission for it.
Yeah, I think I just need to resync it in a minute. If it's not working still.
No, it's open for everybody to speak and shit.
No. The mod stuff he's not able to see. Where all of our topics are for stuff. So, like, when Adi Shankar made that film, it got so much backlash from Saban, I think was the rights holder at the time.
Yeah.
That they had it taken down, and they had to, like, put parody and all this other disclaimer shit in it. And I was in college when that came out, and I'm like, oh, this is really cool. And then, lo and behold, not that much long after that, we had the boom run of comics, which got that in dark at times. Like, It Ends Wednesday, the current run of the Boom comics with Darkest Hour #1. And I've seen people have mixed reaction. They got review copies of it. I didn't get one. But, like, at the same time, like, when you think of how much of a boost in interest the Boom comics gave Power Rangers as well, like, that was a great input to that. And then you see, like, fucking a bunch of the suits, maybe all of them from the reproductions of them getting sold, and people are getting pissy about that. I'm like, we're in an era where people can make these suits in like a day. Why
Yes,
is it that big a deal?
That is why I did not react to that, because I'm like, these suits, they're just spandex,
Right.
and then somewhere in RPM, one of the characters is foaming at the mouth, and I have no idea why. You'll get that joke when we get to RPM.
But like, I just find it funny. Like, there's so much outrage to it, and I'm like, you do realize how easy it is for people to make these suits now. It's not like where we have to get them from Toei. Like, we know we have the models, we have all the blueprints for them. Why keep the warehouse space when we don't know what we're going to do next?
If people can make cosplays that look better than the actual show, then I don't know why the people who are actually making the show can't make them.
Right. It's crazy to me.
To be fair, the 3D to support that argument, the files to 3D print those suits are for free on the internet.
Exactly.
Right.
It takes like 1 day of printing, and then another day for coloring. That's it.
Right. Yeah. But also as well, and in terms of like movies today, I just don't think I don't think that people don't know how to have fun with them. Case in point here, like in another server that I'm in, like on Saturdays we're doing like movie/show spin wheels, where it's like we pick 2 movies and we watch them, and we have a lot of fun doing that. And it's just like that is what audiences has lost nowadays. Most times when you see like people talking about films, it's more like reactions to it, and either like, okay, we have to react really hype about this or be really pissed off about it. And it's like, just have fun with it.
Okay, so I guess see if you can see it now.
If you want to have fun with a movie, don't go to the cinema. I think that's a big problem.
Well,
but most people
Actually,
go
that
for
was the
movies in
topic
the
I wanted to bring up.
cinema, and the cinema vibes are just dead nowadays. And I think it's a lot of movies that are a worse experience if you go into the cinema for them. Well, ours are made with anticipation that you watch it in the cinema, and those are better over there. But like when people will watch it at home, where the experience is just 10 times worse.
It's unfortunate because
that was a topic I did want to bring up.
Yeah, and it was
ahead.
something Karen wanted to bring up as well.
So like for me, I had to go see Deadpool 3 because I literally could not log on to social media without seeing a million spoilers. Like the second I got onto Twitter, it was like, spoilers for Deadpool 3. And I'm like, nope. I logged on to TikTok. 15 videos right there, back to back to back to back. I'd already seen the opening to it because it kind of made its way onto my FYP a couple days before because of like people had got early access to it at Comic-Con, and I didn't know that was a thing. So like I'd seen the intro to it. That's why I didn't feel too bad about, sharing the bye 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 meme that I shared on Instagram. But at the same time, like, we've gotten so involved in the fact that you need to see something at day of that it's insane. Like with spoiler culture in general, like we've talked about it for manga, but like even for films like this, it's crazy to me.
To be fair, if I watch something, I want to talk about it.
Right, like,
so,
but I'll ask.
To be fair, I understand them.
Like, I'll ask, like, hey, have you seen blah blah blah? And then if they say no, I'm like, well, I won't talk to you about it till you see it. I'll respect the fact that not everybody can see it the day it comes out. Well,
but you need to understand, we live in it's the age of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I just post my thoughts about it. I do at this point. If I ask 1 billion people, have you seen that, before I post my opinion, then already people will just skip over it because they do not have time to first look at do you have watched it and then click on like show more. People will skip that. So it directly has to be their opinion. It's just the age we live in today. Whereas spoiler culture is something you have to live with. Either you A, accept it, or you B, go first in the movie like you did, not with Deadpool, or C, you just let yourself be spoiled.
Yeah, like I've accepted like I'll see spoilers for some shit. Like, and it's if it's something I don't really care a lot about, I won't care too deeply. But I'll still be like, okay, I would have liked to have seen like this for myself, kind of thing. Like I saw spoilers for the new Ultraman, for example, pretty quickly online.
Imagine you just saw the spoiler that Donald Duck gets hit by the Rock in Kingdom Hearts 2 and nothing else.
Like it's fucking crazy to me. But I feel like two other people were trying to have a conversation there, and I kind of cut them off.
Fuck those people if I can't push through you, then they don't deserve to talk. I'm an angel. I'm a nice person.
Okay, Luke, you said you want to say something, right?
Yeah, there was something in regards to the cinema experience as well that has been lost in recent years. I mean, it's kind of sort of coming back, but I really wish they'd do more of it, and that would be like, hey, we've got, for example, like if you've got say like the third film in a trilogy out, they'll. I miss the days when they'll like make a big long marathon event of just like all three of these films back to back on the big screen.
Get yourself a fucking license. I'll be ready to pay thrice the amount of thrice the cost for those licenses to bring them back than in the past.
Yeah,
It's just literally that it became way too expensive to do this marathons
yeah,
anymore.
yeah. I understand that, and but it is kind of a bummer that it is happened. It is the way it is now because it's like hey, it's like if you've got this film coming out and people are excited about it, make the most out of it.
Well, to be fair, even then, most people won't come because you have most prior parts of it already in like streaming services where you can watch it at home with friends. And to be fair, most people who go to cinemas are fucking assholes. The last time I went where I had a fucking smartphone shining on the highest brightening settings, shining all the time in my eyes. And that's not just a single case. There are multiple people who that happened to, and multiple times similar stuff happened to me. The cinema experience itself is just ruined by people mostly.
Yeah, no,
as
like,
well that
yeah,
we should look into.
People who go to movie theaters nowadays act worse than people who go to anime conventions. Like,
yes, literally.
Yeah, because I've seen clips on it, like particularly with the last Spider-Man film when Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire showed up, and people just like roaring in their seats, like roar, and it's like that kind of yeah, it's exciting, but it's like Jesus, just let us watch the film.
That
To
literally.
be fair,
that
is for some people that reaction is why they go to the theaters, though.
Yes,
to get that.
But for most,
yeah.
On the contrary, I would say most people go feel themselves annoyed by it. For most people, it's I'm going to cinema, so I'm not being like distracted by a lot of things, and for the better quality. If you want to really like scream or like make jokes during it, then rather watch it at home. And I think for most people now that's their preferred way to not just be silent sitting there like in school.
Like, if there's a like big moment, like, and there's a reaction in the crowd, like I'll react to it, you know, because that's kind of the whole energy there. Like I'll feed off of the energy of the crowd, right? But at the same time, like,
Yeah, it's basically like a
crowd.
concert. Difference between listening to music, at home versus in a theater. Part of it is the experience of the crowd.
Exactly.
And
Fair
this
enough.
this all ties actually into what the topic I wanted to bring up, which was something actually I talked with Red about like a little while back, and I saw some YouTubers that I was watching and following talk about, which is the idea that like a lot of theaters, as post-pandemic are still like trying to like recover because people were not going to the theaters during that time period, and not as many people are going back just because streaming has just boomed since then. So like Red, remember, was saying that he's hoping that theaters will stay open because there's not a lot of, third spaces, like places where people can kind of go hang out, like at a mall or something anymore. And movie theaters are like probably one of the bigger ones for that.
They started
But
doing
in
that
my
Germany.
opinion,
Chilling in the mall, and I fucking hate it. Sorry, continue.
Is it okay? I'm interested in what you have to say, but let me just finish this. But yeah. But my side of the argument is movie theaters are still like a business, and like arguably like an extremely greedy business considering how much they charge for not only their movies but the food that they allow and sell to us in their theaters. So the way I see it, if we're going to be paying extra amount of money for a theater experience, and they're saying that you need to come in for this theater experience where there's other people, you can hear and feel their reactions, you can see and hear movies better than you can at home. And I'm like, okay, but if people don't think that's enough, and they clearly don't if theaters are dying off, then it's up to the theaters to incentivize people to return. And I think there are easy ways they could do that by just like having better theaters, better seats, better food. Like I remember I've gone to like some higher end theaters like at like random points when I had the time just for the curiosity, and I'm surprised like there were places outside like AMC and Regal where it's like, oh, this is actually just like a nice place to come and hang out, and yeah, I can see a movie after that.
Yeah.
So I think there are different ways people these theaters, if they want to survive, that they could cater to customers, and that's the way I think it should be. And if they can't survive, frankly, I'm okay with like a lot of theaters just going out of business because that's just how capitalism works.
Yeah, like
I think,
my closest theater that I go to regularly, where you'll see me like, I'll take a picture if I'm there for something like massive, like I did my ticket for like Deadpool. I took one during the Fathom events for Advent Children's re-release before Rebirth came out. You can see like mine has a full fucking bar in it now. Like you'll see like a drink and then like a picture on my Instagram or whatever, or like the ticket stub. Like mine usually, well, the one that I go to mainly has a full service bar in it. They'll bring the drinks and the food to you if you order it through their app, which barely works, but that's a whole other topic. But like it's a big theater and they host like events and stuff there too. Like you can go and see like an AEW pay-per-view or a UFC pay-per-view with a bunch of fucking 30 something 40 something dude bros if you want to do that. But like they cater to that aspect of things, right? But they only recently got like seats that are from this century, it seems like. Cuz before Advent Children, the last time I was there, no. Let me correct myself. It was before Spider-Man. Like Across the Spider-Verse. Like the movie I saw before that was The Eternals, which was a choice to see in theaters. But like they still had like the same seats that were at that theater when I was a kid. Like literally when I was like early teens, they still had those seats. And like they only recently got like the reclining chairs that most modern theaters have that have heating in them here in 2020 fucking 4, which is crazy to think about because this is one of the bigger chains of theaters. They are only just now playing catch up to like Regal and Alamo Drafthouse and AMC. And I'm like, I wonder why you guys were losing a lot of sales during COVID, because like right when the theaters opened back up, like you guys could barely fill an entire theater for one of the bigger MCU movies, and now you have people flocking back because you've upped your game a little bit. Not to the point where like they were packing out entire things, because obviously like day and date streaming is a thing for like digital release. It's on streaming, right? But like it was a big, up, and it was a big thing for them until they get all that shit, but it's still like not enough to turn it around. And they don't do anything to stop like the massive scalping with like the popcorn buckets and all the collectibles that come with a lot of the shit, which turns a lot of people away too, because like everybody deserves to have like a chance at one. But they sold, apparently like one person at my theater bought every single fucking popcorn bucket and they did nothing to stop them. Because the salesperson told me, like, at like 9 o'clock when they opened, they sold every single popcorn bucket to the same person. Which is crazy to think about. Like,
Yeah.
and I know damn well now, because I searched fucking eBay, that they're all just on there for like $90 a pop. These were $45 popcorn buckets. And I'm like, sure,
Yep.
you're doubling the price for them because you were the same person that bought them all. That's fucking douchey. But that's a whole other rant that's not really necessary. That's like, what are you going to do? Your customer service person is getting paid like 12 an hour. You going to sit there and argue with Karen? But yeah,
No.
it's something else. Like the fucking, like, talking about like the theater in the mall, like mine just recently went to a whole different company like 4 or 5 months ago, and they're actually, like, before, like, I don't know if it's the same way with you guys, but like when you have a mall theater, it usually is playing movies from like 3 4 months ago.
Yeah, I think it is the same for over here.
I'm not sure about mine because I do have a mall theater I've
mean-
sometimes gone to, but
I don't
it's
have
not the
a
one I
theater.
regularly go to, so I'm not sure if the movies were outdated or not. I never really paid attention.
Yeah. Mine used to be, but now they're airing, like, they have Deadpool and Wolverine going there. They have like a couple other recent films. Like, not super super new, but they still have like the Planet of the Apes movie that came out pretty recently as well in there. So they're actually they're showing current movies now, which is really cool, and they're packed usually. Like, out of everything in the mall, that is the one thing that isn't like Hot Topic that is usually populated, which is cool to see, because like the theater there before, like, you could go and see a movie and be the only person in that theater, which was really nice at times. Like, I just want to do something and not be at home in front of my computer. I want to, like, human for a bit, maybe pop in Barnes and Noble after this, buy some manga, and then you could do all of that. But now it's like actually populated. It's really cool to see that turnaround. So I hope for their success, because they seem to have it really well managed too.
I know that in my cinema, one closest to me, the most sold out movies they have are like ones in a different language, like Turkish or Russian. For all the immigrants we have in our town, which are a lot, around 20 to 40% of my town are immigrants, and they just flow to the movies because they have nowhere else to watch them. Other than that, even like the Marvel films were never sold out.
Huh.
Yeah.
And we got them on release time with America.
That's
Yeah, and I'm just looking at like the mall cinema that is closest to me, and they're doing something as well that's similar. Like, literally on August 8th, they're playing My Neighbor Totoro.
Yeah, the
Um,
Fathom
lit-
events thing.
I just checked. Tomorrow, the first movie of Deadpool and Wolverine for tomorrow is like 99% are free from the places.
That's
Yeah,
pretty
I
cool,
don't-
actually.
And also as well, they do anniversary events. So like on that same day, they're doing the 40th anniversary for Neverending Story.
Yeah, so for mine, my small one is Deadpool, Wolverine, Twisters, Despicable Me, Inside Out, Long Legs, Quiet Place, and Bad Boys is airing there.
I'm seeing it right now. Sorry to interrupt again. But we also like showcase the English versions of it, not just with the German dub. That's based.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Like, it's shocking. Like, that's something that really isn't overly talked about, is like, we don't really have that accessibility either for a lot of the movies here anyway. Like, it's almost solely English, and that's really weird, because like,
Well,
we only really get international films in the States, like when they get really popular. Like, I remember when RRR got like super big, and I'm like, well, that was unexpected, but okay, I'll take it.
yeah, like, usually when it's a foreign film, it's usually anime, right? Like, we'll see,
Yeah.
like, Tokyo Godfather's got a re-release. That was one of the last things I saw in theaters
Yeah,
before
and then
COVID.
Godzilla -1, since we were just talking about that.
That too. Parasite, that was another big one. But like, other than that, like, we don't really see those types of films get released over here. And there is a very big, like, Hispanic population, at least in the city I'm in. And they really don't have the option to see a movie in their native language if they are native Spanish speakers, right? So it's
I
really
mean, I'm assuming in bigger places they hopefully do, but obviously you can't comment on that one way or another. I'm not sure how much of that's a concern in the modern age where you
I'm
can just go online. Like if I ever want to watch like any Indian movies myself, I could just go on Netflix. They have like quite a few things there.
yeah, that's true.
yeah, and that's the reason why cinemas are dying.
You know, that's a fair point. Like you can have the dub or the sub version of most things relatively easily with the click of a damn button. I just wish the sound mixing was better on these streaming services. I shouldn't have to put my TV to 75 to hear the fucking audio. Um,
True.
uh,
I found One Piece Red had like the worst sound mixing I've ever experienced.
dude,
I know you did.
I had to max my fucking volume to watch that. Like
That
literally
shit in the cinema was garbage. Like what the actual fuck?
Like, how garbage are we talking here?
inaudible. Literally
Wow.
fucking inaudible.
Some
I
things
remember I
are
watched,
so loud where some things are so loud your ears exploded in the cinema. Other things you couldn't understand with
Like-
how low the volume was.
Like Uta's song was the loudest thing in that entire fucking movie, and that
Wow.
obviously like it's needed to be loud, right? Because it's a song, right? They took the priority for the dubbing for that. But at the same time, like the balance for something is so out of whack in modern era that it's I wonder if it's just one unpaid intern doing the entire sound mixing and they're like, what's the most important part of the movie? And then boost that to fucking 5,000. And then
I
everything
can
else.
think in the One Piece film I could imagine that Toei was just, yeah, the music has to be so loud. It was like per contract, it was like enforced. Because in another way, I can't imagine it that being in every fucking language the case. Like the French version was the same with like the sound mixing.
Yeah.
Right.
The
Right.
Japanese version was the same too, because I watched the sub and the dub to kind of compare the mixing. I won't say I watched the entire thing in both languages. I watched parts of it to where I noticed that it was really bad. Like I would take timestamps, go to the sub, and back to the dub to see like how bad it was. But yeah, it was horrendous.
Oh, God.
Godzilla, I think, had the best sound mixing out of like modern cinema that I've like seen for a foreign film.
I must say, Godzilla in general was like the last great cinema experiences I had were all Godzilla only.
I just
Yeah, it was
recently
really
watched.
good.
I recently
I mean-
rewatched it with my partner, and it was like, and now we will both. I and like her roommates want to show like various little blips of like the other eras of Godzilla, so they can suffer through it like we have as fans. So
That's
I'm
great.
like, we gotta get Baby Godzilla in there, and we gotta get
No, nobody wants to see Baby Godzilla like the Pillsbury Doughboy.
we gotta get that in there. Mothra's got to make an appearance. Like all the good and the bad.
Actually, you know what needs to be put in. You know what needs to be put in there?
Godzilla 2000.
No. Jet Jaguar and
I'll
Yeah,
make
yeah.
sure that's
and the death-defying drop kick with Godzilla's tail.
Oh, that's definitely going to be in
Yeah.
there. But like, I got to get Godzilla 2000, so it can be the very, very low point of the entire marathon.
But yeah,
But
I
yeah,
think-
yeah, I was just gonna tying back to what we were saying earlier. I think that movie did like a great job, like not only just bringing people in, but like the American movies. Like I don't think -1 on genuinely would be as popular and well received and successful if it wasn't for how big the MonsterVerse movies have been
Oh, for
by
sure.
legendary. Because like even when like Shin Godzilla, which was honestly like probably still one of the best in this franchise, arguably, it was not the kind of movie that I think I heard too much outside of like, you know, the fandom, which is expected for like a series like Godzilla. But with -1, like you were hearing about people who just like watch movies in general. And so it took like those, you know, action flick popcorn movies that we have in the MonsterVerse to get people to watch that. And so that's why I thought, Godzilla was a great example of like a franchise that managed to branch out enough to bring people back into like what Godzilla's all about.
Yeah.
And hopefully your partner's friends really enjoy the other eras.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be like over the course of the next couple months, we're just gonna binge a bunch of them, whatever's available on Prime at the time, because they rotate through the Godzilla movies. It seems like, because last time it was like the like Godzilla versus Mothra was on there. There was a couple of the Reiwa era stuff. There was fucking like Destroya was on there, which is a good peak for a marathon, but like a lot of the other ones were just like, you can buy this membership. I'm like, nope. I'm not paying for another damn streaming service or another like random third party bullshit through Amazon Prime, like just to show a silly little 90-minute movie.
We could have a whole discussion about like streaming services and that.
Oh,
'Cause I feel like Amazon's big fault is that they segment all their subscriptions. Despite actually having like a good amount of content, they are very bad at delivering the content
literally
in like a good package.
I have a Pokemon subscription on Amazon. That's how down
I
bad.
I had one for
You have
Yu-Gi-Oh!
a
To watch
Pokemon
GX.
subscription on Amazon?
There's a Pokemon channel where like you can watch some of the older seasons of Pokemon, and they rotate through
Yeah,
the older Pokemon.
I know about that. I know about that.
And
I've
so
heard of it.
I have that, so I can watch. I was watching through like Diamond and Pearl, and that was the only fucking place you could watch it, was on Amazon through that third party app. And I'm like, this is stupid. I'm paying $2.99 to watch like 15-year-old cartoons. Like, put it on fucking Netflix. Put it on Amazon proper. Like, this is dumb. And then like,
But they make money.
but like I can't log into my Crunchyroll through Amazon Prime, right? Like it's a separate service. I can't log into like HBO Max. It's a separate service through them. Like I have these apps. Why can't I just watch all of it on one hub? Like I miss that. That's what my big issue with that is. Because if I'm paying for it through one place, I should just be able to be like, oh, scan this QR code or whatever, and it just links my account. Like, that'd be so inconvenient, and that's why they won't do it. But yeah, it's crazy. The other like thing that I like this topic for, like where cinema is and what its like standing is, and like the vast majority of our current culture, right? When we look to things like anime, since that's our big focus as a channel for the most part, is anime has been the thing that we've talked about the most. I feel like anime and toku in general, because we have Zangetsu here, who's a bigger toku person than any of us, I feel like that's where our renaissance is in this industry, right? Because we see anime movies having massive successes where like, and I'm not dragging this into like Gamergate 2 subculture. I'm bringing it into the fact that like Eastern cinema is doing really good over here, whereas Western cinema is like really failing at a lot of its points. We saw Ultraman do insane here. And that is a franchise that really is so fucking niche usually that before like the 2010s, I don't think you could find people that knew what Ultraman was unless they grew up with like Cyberman or the Cyber Squad on like the Fox box. Like that was my introduction to like anything Ultraman adjacent, was the Fox box. That's what the hell was it called, Zangetsu? Is the like Ultraman show that was on Foxbox when Power Rangers was.
Oh,
like,
that was Tiga, Ultraman Tiga.
right, but it was named something else here, like Cyber Squad something something.
No, it was named the same thing.
What is the stupid?
You are just stupid, I think, Vex.
There was another like.
If maybe you're talking about Gridman was named something else. But Ultraman Tiga was called Ultraman Tiga on the Fox box.
Fuck.
can always Google it if you want to double check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing I know about Gridman are fires.
Well, while Fex is looking up that, I'll say one of the other topic things that I wanted to bring up, and it was what I put in the live action chat about movies that are coming out today, not just with Marvel or even Star Wars, which is a whole other can of worms, but they all have like one major problem, and it's what we talked about, like playing it safe to just appease as many people as possible. Because
it was the Gridman one. It was Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad was what it was called over here.
Yeah.
Wasn't even Ultraman. It was. I just remembered it looked like Ultraman when it aired here. But yes, like Tim Curry was the voice in it as well, of all things. But like that block was like my introduction to like the Sentai. And where is this thing I'm pulling up? Live action chat.
the thing that I was just talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, it's live action chat. It's just above where you put the blue screen.
Okay.
Yeah, where because I don't know if any of you guys have noticed this, but the nowadays people are either saying like we will boycott a movie because of X, Y, C, or you'll have people saying you're just appeasing to X, Y, and C, and it's like. Nowadays,
Norman, just watch what you're gonna watch. Like people are always gonna like have their opinion on stuff. If they don't want to watch a movie, that's also fine. Like,
I'm not saying that like there aren't reasons to boycott or not see a movie. Like there are various films that are coming out that I don't intend to watch in the theater for various reasons. The new Captain America being one of them. But like at the same time, I'm not saying I won't eventually watch the damn thing just because there was a boycott against it. Like, I understand the conflict that is going on and why people are boycotting that. I fully understand that. I'm pro-Palestine. But at the end of the day, this is a character that has been in the comics before. She is not a very important comic character at all. They went through 3 rounds of fucking shoots and they have still decided to double down on that. I think Disney is fucking stupid for that, ignoring, like, everything that's going on. But I'm sure it's going to tie into another fucking Marvel movie, and I'll eventually watch it when it's on Disney Plus. Like, they're already getting my money there. I'm not giving any money to the actual fucking theater and the ticket sales of it. I'll watch it on Disney Plus, like I did with the Marvels, because I didn't want to see that in the fucking theater, because this looks stupid. Like, I like Captain Marvel as a character, but this entire film just looks stupid to me. I'm not going to fucking pay $35 to see it in the theater with concessions and ticket sale, you know? I'm going to choose to see something better, you know? That's how my version of boycott has went for some of this shit, and I totally understand that. And it's not appeasing to X, Y, and Z. It's just people having opinions for being dumbasses one way or the other. And we've had it from day one. Like, look to fucking Star Wars. Like, from the prequels, people have done this shit. You just had to look a little further for it. Like, if you were on the forums when the prequels were coming out, you know, people were bitching and moaning. My uncle was one of them who was bitching and moaning about fucking Jar Jar Binks. And I'm like, really? Like, I understand he's not a great character, but, like, come on now. Like, it's just dumb. Fandom in general is the most toxic place on the planet, and the further you can distance yourself from the overall, like, zeitgeist of fucking the fandoms, the happier you'll be, I feel like. Like, I've stood by that for the longest time. That's why I don't interact with a lot of fandoms anymore. It's like, okay, you have become way too big, and you are just full of, like, man babies. Like... It's stupid. But I do agree with you. Like, there is a lot of pandering in the studios as well. Like, they're very much targeting towards specific demographics for the sole reason of getting people to come and see their film or their show, right? Like, if you look back to Endgame, right? The scene with the A-Force near the end, right? Where all the girls team up. that was very much a marketing gimmick, right? It was like, here is your girl power moment. It was very easily removable if a certain country doesn't like female empowerment. It's the same way that a lot of these films will have like their one gay kiss being a very easily removable item in the movie, because they want to cater to as many audiences as possible. So if they want their Chinese sales or their, Middle East, their Middle East sales, they're going to edit that out. Yep, you're going to change the flag in the Saudi Arabia version of Spider-Man so they can get as many sales as possible. So it's one of those things that you just kind of deal with. Like, it's stupid, but at the same time, I understand why they do it. I would very much rather have, outspoken the studios that have the balls to say, like, we are not cutting out the gay scene. We are not cutting out the lesbian scene. We are not cutting out the scene of, like, the women having their big moment here just to appease, like, some oil prince, right? That's the kind of, studio that I'm very much like, go fucking, yeah, that's what we want, It's, yeah,
you know what? But you know what it will turn into. They'll change it like, oh no, they're not lesbians, they're cousins. So,
we are very much removed from the era of the. We are very much removed from the era of the Deke dub of fucking Sailor Moon. Thank God. I figure you saw where I retweeted the studio versus its enemy. Because the second I saw that, I'm like, yup, I was watching Sailor Moon during that. I'm like, what in the sweet home Alabama is this shit? Even as a fucking kid, I'm like, this ain't right. But like,
watching as a kid, like watching like the newer like dub of it is like night and day. Man, they were loud in the original dubbing that was on Snog.
Oh yeah. Like, I'm very glad that the new dub is actually airing on, like, television now. Like, it's great to have Sailor Moon back on the air. Like, that's something that I didn't expect. Like, I didn't expect Toonami to scoop that up. I would very much like for The Witch of Mercury to get aired on there, too, just so people can suffer like we suffered in the Gundam fandom. But, like, it's something that is so unique to that aspect of things. Like, I'm just hoping that at some point we've moved past the type of content that people like Yellow Flash and the Quartering and Grums will sit there and bitch and moan about, to for the most minuscule little change of diversity and inclusion.
Don't even get me started on that. Like, for example, like, I can't remember which series. It's the Percy Jackson series where people were bitching and moaning about the diversity casting of one of the characters when the author of the series themselves was the
doing
one
the casting.
Yes.
Yeah, he was like, I am not letting them fuck this up again. I am picking the cast, and I am very glad that he did that. And the people that I responded to with that just would block me. Like, hey, remember when he said this? I'm the one choosing. Block. I'm like, yeah.
And it's not even with that as well. Like, if you look at like the live action One Piece series, where people are getting pissy about Nico Robin not being Russian, I'm like, Sanji, I don't know. Is the actor who's playing Sanji French?
No, he's British. We had that topic once already, Luke.
Yeah.
I'm pissy that Robin's actress won't be Russian, because I am Russian. I want representation for my kind that is not evil in American movies. No, I know I'm kind of hard with the current world politics, but still.
You get to play the evil dude that's twirling his mustache forever. That's your role since the 90s.
Are you speaking to the German in me or to the Russian in me now?
Pick one. Pick
I am
bitch.
You guys think us now? Why am I so an asshole to us? You made me one. Your American culture.
Yeah, like
weirdly, there's actually some validity in what you just said.
No, like literally, like there is no need to make the German or the Russian like always the villain, but it's a typecast. Like, you still, and I hate it. Like, for the most part, like, most criminals in TV shows will still usually be a black person or a prostitute, right? Like, that those are your two defaults in, like, cop dramas. And I'm like, I understand the commentary here, but there are more than just that in that. And I'm like, and sadly, it's one of the things that my mom watches the most when I'm here, is like, she'll watch like police periodical shit. And I'm like, wow, when was this filmed? 2019, 2020, 2021. We haven't passed the 70s, guys, in this genre. What the fuck is going on? like it's stupid. It, like, there is a million other ways to tell the story, and you still are doing that. But like, I've never really liked that type of content really either, so I'm not the target demographic for it. Like, I grew up watching like CSI Miami. I'm like, cool, whatever. Like, that was also when my dad was in corrections. So I'm like, "Ugh." And I like
I
very
grew
quickly,
up watching How I Met Your Mother.
yeah, I very quickly grew out of watching that kind of shit. But like, I
Like How I
pivoted
Met
from
Your
shit
Mother.
like that to Always Sunny,
It was
which just
pretty good.
cooked my humor. Like, literally.
So another film, I mean, this wasn't really much of a topic, but I remember when it was happening, I found it kind of funny. Mad Max had like a spin-off come out this year,
Furiosa.
Furiosa, I believe. Yeah, and I remember that movie did not perform very well, and certainly not as well as they wanted it to perform. And I remember, like, when that was happening, I saw so many articles talking about, oh, is our movie theaters dead? Is this the end of cinema as we know it? And I remember thinking, well, one, I guess there are less people going to the theaters now than before because of streaming services. But also, like, it was funny because before that movie came out, Furiosa, we had Dune and Kung Fu Panda and like Godzilla come out, and they did great. And then like now after Furiosa, we had Inside Out 2 and Deadpool 3 now, and as those are also doing incredibly well. So I found it just funny that people saw like one movie that, as far as I understand, nobody really asked for, not do super great, and then everyone just started panicking. That was just
It's
funny to
because
me.
it's a big IP. Like, Mad Max, despite like the not need for that movie to exist, and there was a bit of controversy surrounding some of the stuff that happened on there, like being left out in the desert to film for so long for that as well, and actors possibly doing the same thing that the 2016 Suicide Squad was doing to each other, like the like in-house hazing and shit. I don't know if there's any validity to that. I'm just going off of Twitter bullshit. And I'm not going to bother digging through Twitter to find all those posts right now. But like, there was rumors of that, and I think maybe part of that had to do with it, but also the fact that it's a character's origin story almost 10 years removed from the movie that she was introduced in. And also, it was during college exam season that was released, which a lot of college kids go to the theater. Like, that's something that still happens. You also had a bunch of other stuff that had just came out, like you were saying, and a bunch of other bigger movies coming out after that that people are more interested in. So they're like, well, this can be a low in it. I can watch this on streaming. The movie wasn't bad. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. And it possibly put the franchise on ice because apparently every studio thinks in Square Enix terms. Like, if it doesn't do like 10 times what it's expected to do, it's now a dead franchise. Which is insane to think about, because this is a franchise that's kind of stood the test of time. Like, it's not been, consistent releases, but like, there's always been a Mad Max. Like, it seems like every like decade there was a Mad Max. But at the same time, like, maybe it's time to move past it because it's getting a little too close to home too. Like, it's just a weird one to me. And then like, we had Planet of the Apes come out, we had like Godzilla, we had all this phenomenal movies coming out and had just come out. You're right, like one flop, and it's not really a flop, had a half dozen articles, and then you also had the grift side of it, like, it's because there was a woman as the lead, blah 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 blah. I'm like, no, just was kind of a mid origin story that didn't need to exist. Like, I wouldn't say that I'm a fan of this. Like, if a movie doesn't do well, it's immediately putting a franchise on ice, though. Like, there are definitely franchises that need to be put on ice. I'm looking at you, Toy Story fucking 5.
Oh God! Why did Toy Story 4 need to exist? Like, why couldn't they have just been like, you know what, Toy Story 3, perfect ending to the trilogy, leave it?
No, we need
The
it.
perfect ending is in Kingdom Hearts 3.
I'm not even going to
First and
argue with
foremost.
that. I'm not even going to argue with that because I did like the Toy Story world in
to
that.
be fair, I've heard the argument of Toy Story 4's existence. If you look at Toy Story 2, 3, and 4 as like its own trilogy for Woody.
That's fair. It's still bullshit. And still bullshit. Like, you had a perfect conclusion for 3.
But then the argument I make, well, what about the first one, which was a movie for Woody about accepting Buzz as like, hey, the new toy in town.
Yeah, like
It's a trilogy regarding Woody's purpose as a toy.
that's an interesting take. I'll allow its existence because it's somebody's opinion. Like, I'm not going to sit here and begrudge that, but at the same time, I still do not see the need for a Toy Story 4 or 5 at
I'm
all.
drinking whiskey.
I am trying to be sober right now, and it is very hard.
And honestly,
I'm-
like
It's 1 a.m. I'm allowed to
It
drink.
feels like
The day just began.
that would be a natural direction for Woody's character, in my honest opinion.
No, you're right. It would be a natural direction for it, but at the same time, then why would there be 5? Like,
I don't know. Maybe we're gonna get our. I don't know. Maybe
Let's be
fucking
real, the
Ryan's
reason
gonna get
why 5
he
exists-
deserves as the main character or some shit. I don't
5
know.
exists because they saw the positive reception Toy Story got in Kingdom Hearts. Let's be real.
no, I would
Oh,
think that the positive.
simplest answer is money.
Yes.
Just money.
True.
Like, I think Lightyear would have been the next thing after Kingdom Hearts 3, and we all saw how horrible that did. Like, literally.
You know, the funny thing is, I really didn't enjoy the concept of what they were trying to do,
Yep.
but it also is like, this probably shouldn't have been a Toy Story like movie.
They could.
It really should have just been like its own like sci-fi movie by
Yep.
itself.
Literally, they could have done that. But it was like based
But-
around the cartoon from the 90s while also telling the story from another perspective. It was a cool concept, but at the same time, like you said, they could have been anything else. Like, they could do the same thing with
Yeah,
the
I remember
Joker.
like watching the pitch meeting for that one, and they're like, "This is the movie Andy watched as a kid and got him interested in the IP." It's like, you know what? When you put it like that,
Right?
what child is going to get invested?
Like, literally, you could do the same with the fucking Joker movie, though, right? You could take the Joker's name off of it, and it would still be a phenomenal movie. Like,
That is true, I guess.
like it's just a way to sell an idea and make it marketable. Like, that is it. Like, they threw the Toy Story Lightyear name onto it to make it more appealing to people, and it still failed. But the Joker succeeded in that, and it brought people into the fucking theater, and they'll probably sell 500,000 fucking tickets day one for fucking Joker 2 because Lady Gaga's in it. And you got Harley Quinn, and it's going to be... I'm already assuming Rule 34 is going to have a bunch of Lady Gaga Harley Quinns day of. And I'm going to probably want to kill myself on that. In-game.
Bad. Bad, but
Minecraft.
it's already made.
I don't doubt what you're saying, but I don't want to live in that reality this early.
Dude, the Pokemon community took like 1 hour after Sonya's
I know,
release to make
I
Pokemon
know,
profit.
I know.
And that was with the trailer.
I know, and the Pokemon community needs therapy.
Yeah, just like every community needs therapy.
No. The fucking Kingdom Hearts community needs therapy the most. Like, literally.
They have worse ones. Have you seen the LoL community?
The what?
The League of Legends community?
League of
Oh,
Legends.
God. Please no. My ex had an entire folder of fucking hentai on her computer desktop of that. And I'm
yeah,
like,
my ex had that for Stardew Valley characters.
why the fuck is there porn of Stardew Valley?
It's one of
Let's
most
not
favorite
get
tags,
into
by the
that.
way. Stardew Valley porn is extremely popular. For some reason. I find that game is fucking garbage. Don't ask me why.
I suddenly have the urge to drink bleach.
That's why I am drinking.
Like, what the fuck?
Cheers.
Cheers
7
from my
Oaks.
cheers
7
from my
Oaks
water
blended
bottle.
whiskey.
Like, I'm literally, it's insane. Like, that is crazy to think about. Like, but when you cycle back to like our initial topic of like the state of film, like we really have two very, very distant future paths we can take here, and I find them both uniquely fascinating. One of them is the death of cinema in its original form, where like we see theaters actually become an object of the past. We see everything pivot to streaming. We see the loss of physical media, which I'm not a fan of, but I do find like a little portion of this interesting. And then we also see the fact that we continue to grow the budget to where it is unsustainable, right? What that outcome will end up being is we will end up returning to the short form cinema, to where like indie films are the mainstay, because no one will want to spend $1 billion on the next commercial flop. That's why I find that path fascinating. On the other hand, we see the correction of cinema, where we see people realize that are in executive positions, and I'm not seeing this one be a reality whatsoever, because executives only like number go up. We see them correct their paths and learn to listen to their fans and their communities and actually communicate with them. And
Good
like,
one. Good one.
Right.
That's the best joke you've made all year, Fex.
Imagine rich people listening to the poor.
Right,
Couldn't be
exactly.
me.
That's why I'm like, I don't see this one happening. And where we actually see cinema return to being willing to take risks and have new ideas, and not sit there and make cinematic universe number 55's entry, right?
But
That
they need their
doesn't.
mega
But,
yachts though.
yeah, but to your argument, Vex, that doesn't change like what I saw as one of the biggest problems that I mentioned. Other people. Like a big reason why a lot of people's name as an argument for not going to the cinema anymore are the other people over there.
Mhm.
That doesn't help against that. You can make it as good as you want to, but you still have humans to contest with.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like I understand the sense of community. Like you want to have the like theater experience, and that's why I want that to be the option, because we can't continue to sit here, and I feel the same way about the gaming community, the gaming industry, that I do about the film industry here. We cannot sit here and continue to make $25 billion films every time we need to make a new entry into a universe, right? We can't sit here and continue to make $25 billion films every time somebody wants a mega yacht, because not every movie is going to be a return on investment, right? We can't say that, for example, Fantastic Four is going to sit here and make back its budget of, I think it's like $1 billion for Fantastic Four.
I'm sorry, but we can put it off as a tax write-off and still save money and still get more money.
Right, but you can only
the movie.
We can only write off so many movies before we see people returning to piracy, because we've already seen that when we started having like all of the tax write-offs for fucking Max and all of the cartoons that got archived. We saw Google Drives float around Twitter like they were STDs, right? It was literally the beginning of a new generation of piracy, right? And
I support that.
I do too, to an extent, but I also want to see these communities of film and animation and gaming continue. But we can't continue to sit here and make poor business decision after poor business decision for the sake of one person's pocket. Like, I feel like everybody can agree with that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like Party Jams, you and I have had this discussion half dozen times on the gaming podcast. like, it's insane, because we always cycle back to the topic of corporate greed in these, and it's the underlying issue to every industry. Like I'm looking at Amazon right now, and they being removed from the company. Like I still get like email blasts and Slack blasts from former coworkers, and just hearing the decisions that are happening behind closed doors. I'm like, I'm not shocked, but also that's going to make everybody's job even harder. Like they've outsourced HR. Like we used to have for every site, and this is common knowledge if you've been around an Amazon Reddit. There used to be for every site, there used to be a specific HR blast to where you can send your concerns and everything to, for like, hey, I'm having issues with my badge, or I'm having issues with like this and this coworker, they're harassing somebody, or we just literally like if they're not getting their vacation approved because their manager's a dickhead, you can send it to this email, and it would go to any one of your HR partners and whoever answers it first in your building. That is now a fucking chatbot. Like literally, that is a chatbot. And
Yeah, Amazon is not the only one who did that.
oh no, I know it's like industry wide at this point. Amazon probably started the trend, but like hearing that, and like the 3 HR people that they still have, like 1 per shift at Amazon, are flooded with more people having to come up to them than ever before, because they used to have people answering that email, but now that it's a chatbot, it's some third world country by like tech standards, right? Like where you can pay somebody pennies on the dollar to do it, right? It's probably somebody either in like Middle East or like somewhere in like Southeast Asia. That's where a lot of these text chatbots end up at, where they can run like 18 different accounts at the same time and just have a script. And like it's every HR is getting outsourced like that, it seems like. And it's stupid because the whole point of HR is the human element, human resources. You are there to protect the company, but also listen to the grievances of the employee. It's literally what is also happening to the visual effects industry. Like a lot of it is getting outsourced to smaller countries in like Asia and India, and you're getting like, even I think it was it Wit that got busted for having AI art from a fucking art farm in China recently?
Oh, I don't know
Was it?
which one it was. I think it was Wit.
I don't
Art
remember.
farm?
It literally, they were just running a generative AI department and using that for background. It was either Wit or Bones. It was one of the bigger ones that had that happen.
I'm trying to look it up now.
Okay.
But like, it was a Netflix production that had it happen, and then they were planning on using it for other bigger projects as well, and then people called them out for it, and they're like, well, we won't do that now. But like Disney did it for like background characters during COVID and a lot of their shit too. There was a big stink about that, where like all their visual effects and backgrounds were being used, but like everybody noticed that they were the same face throughout the background of this like basketball movie. And it was just like, seems like this is just generative AI. And like that's kind of where the industry is going with that, and it's unfortunate because like Tyler, you were talking about Death Battle before we started this podcast. I'm like, I want to see animators in jobs, but that's like not my type of content anymore. But I would very much rather them have that than go for that.
Okay, to answer your question, Vex, it was which studio for The Dog and the Boy?
Yep.
Okay.
I remembered it was either Wit or Bones. Like those two seem to be the ones that are always in trouble for something.
I remember Matos being in trouble for tax evasion.
All right, well, that's a little bit more based.
Bro, that was. I think that's the only correct opinion you can have on that.
I pay my taxes like a normal American, but I do it kicking and screaming all the way to the IRS.
If I had a job, I would also pay my taxes.
Well, Fex, it's either one of them or JC's staff that's the one that's causing controversy all the time recently.
What the hell did JC staff do?
JC staff.
Because of the fact that they've gotten the rights to 2.5 dimensional seduction and they've censored it heavily.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've watched it. It's not that bad in terms of censorship. It's
I
fine.
have not watched it, but I do not care.
Like I understand the need for some censorship, but I'm assuming it's the same way that a lot of other shit is getting censored nowadays. There's two cuts.
To be fair, I just if I want hentai, I can just Google hentai.
It's mainly
Also true.
it's mainly just covering up the skin a lot more. That's mainly the only
Literally, the only reason to
censored
read the
bit.
manga. Remove the only reason to read the manga.
I'm sorry, but are we so down bad for like content at this point? Well, I guess maybe America is because more and more states are blocking porn sites, so maybe we are
Wait,
here.
what? Wait, what? That's against the human rights.
It started with Texas, and Pornhub's like, I'm not going to have you submit your ID because that feels like that is a very slippery slope for other issues. So we're just going to block Pornhub in Texas, and then now I think it's Indiana and a couple other states.
You can't even imagine. Pornhub is like not. You can't access Pornhub in Russia. It was like the worst time ever being over there.
I mean, there's VPNs and there's other ways to get fucking porn. But
Yeah, I have other sites than Pornhub, but
at the same
like
time,
hell.
like it's very stupid. So maybe America is down bad enough to be bitching about a little bit of skin not being shown in a fucking anime. But like I feel like more people that are bitching about that are doing it just to farm impressions on YouTube. That's my opinion.
Fair. Like most people have like their controversive takes because they earn money from it on Twitter.
Has been gold. What?
Yeah. Like compared to a lot of other things that I saw, his takes are pretty normal.
Not entirely, but like compared to his group of people, I'll give him the credit of being at least less creepy. And that's about as far as I'll take that. But like there are very, very much worse in that sphere of content, and I think we've all realized my opinion.
Awesome.
No. Like literally, I would sooner side with Hassan than half of that fucking like political YouTuber and drama YouTuber shit. But it's still like grift either way. You're just farming impressions.
To be fair, they are not. I'm so happy that none of them does content on German politics.
Yeah, well, I mean, their target demographic is Americans, so that's probably why.
Sure, and they are the most stupid people to manipulate, so they're doing a great job.
I mean, it literally, like, any of our media is manipulating us regardless, so why not some fucking YouTuber or Twitch streamer? Like, it's fucking just the easiest over here. But, like, literally, I feel like the last topic here is cycling back to anime and like Toku. I feel like we're going to see a bigger surge of that. Recently, they announced a Miku movie with Sekai characters in it as well, and it'll get a release over here as well.
Based.
And Miku is like one of the biggest, most recognizable faces in the fucking anime scene. Like you literally get a new figure every 2 days, it seems like. So that will be another big boost for that side of things. We have what, 2 more announced right now? I don't follow My Hero Academia at all. I just know that they have
there's another My Hero movie coming.
I think
right before the series is about to end.
I remember you saying there was 2. There was also going to be one that actually is like an epilogue movie. I think that was tweeted by Manga Morga. So, like, that is a possibility. I don't know if there's any validity to that because his takes have been, like, kind of sketchy lately. But there's that. We have another Digimon movie that'll eventually come out, Adventure 2 Part 2, because they're doing, like, the same thing.
Part 1.
Is that Digimon movie in the production?
Digimon
Not from what I know.
Zero to the beginning.
It's already out.
Yeah, the first
Yeah,
one's
yeah,
out.
I mean, yeah,
I know the first one's out. I'm just looking.
But like based on the trajectory of that, we'll have a 2 and a 3 for that as well, like we did with
All right.
Try.
I have not watched that shit.
yeah, I'm not seeing anything.
Yeah, just
wait, so there
basing on it.
isn't any confirmation, or
There's
I
no
absolutely nothing-
confirmation. I'm just basing it off of the ending and the trajectory of the
Oh,
Digimon
okay.
franchise.
Got
So
it. Okay.
so like
For that, we just first need our game that is in production for like 5 years now.
right, no, like y'all are suffering
Without
there.
single trailer or something.
You're all
I
are
hate
suffering
that.
there. But like we're suffering doubly. Ann Arbor as Kingdom Hearts fans. So
Well, at least Nomura talks.
that is true. Nomura does at least talk. The Digimon production staff does not.
The only thing we know from the game is that this year the old game chief director came out and said, "Yeah, I quit last year ago, but it's still in production
Yeah.
without me though."
That's
man.
insane to think about. Like the only knowledge that you have of it being still in
That's
production.
the guy who saved the IP. You need to imagine.
I mean, we know that the games are still in development. We know that too from a live stream that I did, but that's about it.
He said it's
Yeah.
coming good. It's good. It's good. But
like,
we
that's
should hear something
crazy.
about it this year.
Like
But
I'm,
yeah, we'll
I'm,
talk
sh-
more
I'm,
about
sh-
that.
I'm sure that we'll have another fucking. Well, we know we're having Demon Slayer movies for the finale, so we'll have that. That'll be another big event. I don't know if they're going to do another Ultraman movie or not over here, but I feel like that would be something they could do. From the Toku side of things. And being a Power Rangers fan right now is very frustrating because we don't really know like the status of the franchise.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
Well,
we're right now
that's
stuck in
just
limbo.
like Digimon.
Like,
Isn't both
yeah.
by Namco owned?
But I'm gonna keep my hopes up because and I hope Ann Arbor keeps my hopes up for me as well, because when I was saying Rue Dragon wouldn't come back and then it comes back, I don't want.
I
him
always
say-
said it will come back, and it came back because Rui Dragon does never disappoint.
Breed
Well,
Dragon is too new of a franchise to have your faith like that for, though. I will agree.
But it's way too big. It's not mere volume one, mere volume ones than for most of the Shonen Jump titles in existence.
That is true. But like that's not really a thing for Shonen Jump. They've like cut other successes before. Like
True. Look at Bleach.
Like they rushed the hell out of the Bleach ending. They've done a lot of the shit like that. But like I don't know if we'll get more Ultraman over here, and not knowing the status of Power Rangers, like I feel weird saying this, but like Kamen Rider could be our next big break over here. Like
it could be. Well, they tried that with the season 3 opener of Mighty Morphin, and that didn't work.
well, then again, like at that point, it was very new franchise, whereas now you have people our age with kids that can introduce their kids to it as well. But like, I feel weird in this because like I love Power Rangers, but it is a very antiquated franchise in the regards of like how it was filmed and how it was produced, and I didn't enjoy everything that was happening in the near the end to the point where like I approve of all of the decisions, like going like original with suits. I liked when they would pay homage to like the suits and shit, at the very least. But at the same time, like I understand the want to do in-house production versus having to freight shit over from Japan wherever they're filming it now. That's very costly, and then you also have to try and ensure the fact that the stuff makes it back to the company in one piece. So there was a lot of
Robbie's mentioned.
Yeah.
there's a lot of logistics there, so I understand the want to do more in-house stuff, but at the same time, like it's a very odd choice, right?
Yeah, but I do have faith because every time they try to end the franchise, it just keeps going.
There's that, but like,
I mean, it's.
Go ahead, Zangetsu.
Oh, sorry.
Go
I
ahead.
mean, it's less of like them trying to like get rid of the franchise, and more like the zombie corpses of like the franchise keeps rising up, because like the sales have been like ever since like the end of, let's say, Mighty Morphin. It's just been on like a massive decline.
Mhm.
And like every time like every time like a company like tries to buy up the company for the the franchise, they just get worse and worse sales with
Yeah.
products.
It's hemorrhaging money for the sake of hemorrhaging money. You're hemorrhaging it for passion of the product, yes, but you can only do that for so long. Like that's why Disney had such a like hands-off approach to it. It seemed like as well, and like with like Hasbro, we've seen them make some stupid fucking choices recently, from their WotC branch on down to like a lot of the other like toy lines when they were going to like cheaper molds and shit for the figures. That's why they were putting them in blind box packaging instead of allowing you to see them before you open the toy up. Meaning in-box collectors were having to open their toys to make sure that they were actually in a functional state, right? And then that lost them a lot of money for a lot of their toy lines. And realistically speaking, Power Rangers is merch first, show second. And it's been that way for a very long time. Because
Well,
like
it's been that way with
also that.
Well, it's been that way with a lot of franchises, like
Transformers, G.I.
Transformers, G.I. Joe, Digimon, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!
Right. Most of these are Hasbro properties, though. Do you notice?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's really more of like if it's a product for kids, like mostly since like the 80s, they've done with the model of we've got to sell product. This show is essentially a commercial for said product.
But we can't directly market it.
Not.
We can't directly market it during the airtime for the longest time. That was a stupid television rule. You couldn't directly market the show that is currently airing, and that it was.
But they did it anyway by like, hey, here's your favorite like toy character. It's like, hey, it's like they're eating this cereal brand. Buy the cereal.
Yup. They found very creative ways to get that. Like the karate audio tape with the breakaway board. Remember that stupid shit? Jesus Christ. I had that shit as a kid. Like it was like they found creative ways to get around that rule. But you're right, like they've had declining sales in a lot of it, and it's been hemorrhaging since Mighty Morphin. So I understand Mighty Morphin being also the face of the franchise because it did the most sales. So you want to market the one that's the most successful. That's why they're relaunching Mighty Morphin with the Playmates license, because they've sub-licensed their toys out. They haven't officially canceled the Lightning Collection. We know that. We also know that they haven't officially canceled the comics. We haven't officially canceled the show. Like, we have Power Rangers Prime is the new comic that's coming out in, I think, August or September through Boom. With the new, it seems like Mighty Morphin team. It looks like it was the team that actually landed on the moon first that was introduced in midway through the Mighty Morphin run that we have now, being the focus.
So I'm gonna head out now.
Alrighty.
All right.
Yep.
So we have that being like the focus of this comic, it seems like. And then we have the show has been rejected from the Netflix side of things because they want to do like a greatest hits rerun of Mighty Morphin, and they're like, no, you promised us X, Y, and Z, you're giving us A, B, and C. We don't want that. So now they're shopping that around to other avenues because they want to play it safe again, which has been like the core theme of this is studios playing it safe. So I don't know what the fate will be of that side of it. And given that they're selling the suits now, it's very, very touch and go for a lot of the fandom. But at the same time, like we said, like you can literally fucking 3D print half of the shit and sew it together.
Also, as well, Fex, it's November that Power Rangers Prime comes out.
Okay. I knew it was this year. Like, there's probably a lot of writing and stuff that needs to happen too, because they usually get like a month ahead or a couple months ahead in that, because it's a monthly comic. But yeah, like you have that. I'm assuming you're going to also have more because they've said like stay tuned because there's more to come. But with Hasbro, like you never really know what their mindset is regarding a property because they shop their shit around so much. Like WotC has been in so much fucking trouble lately for like Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons, and that's a division of their stuff. And like with everything that they've been dealing with, I don't have faith in Hasbro retaining the license to this. I figure they'll pass it off.
I think with what Hasbro does know this, I think they're just going to kill it.
That's
like,
also a
this looks more
possibility.
like a Hasbro action.
There's also that possibility, and that would be an unfortunate thing. But they would be losing an insane amount of money through the IP as well, because they bought it for a fuck ton of money. The dude that
and it's an hemorrhage, as you've said, it
Yeah.
only loses money. So it's better to kill that off before they find a buyer for it.
Yeah, it would just be like recouping their loss or killing off the property, and those are two very distinct possibilities here. I feel like whatever this is that they're doing now is going to be their last run with it, right? This reboot.
The question is, who's going to buy that product after it's like Dawnfall? Since Mighty Morphin, as you've said, I think.
And Mighty Morphin was the first series too. Like it's steadily declined in sales for a lot of the merch since then.
Yeah, so they ruined the IP. So whoever's buying that now needs to buy all the shit they've created with it.
So like everything post 1993, they're dealing with everything.
And most companies are not willing to take on that garbage. And that's why I think
about this. They gotta buy the property, and then they would have to like make some form of licensing deal with Toei in order for to sell said said products, because without it they can't sell any of the Mighty Morphin merch.
Exactly.
In other words, yes, I think it's just way too expensive for IP. That is, I'm sorry to say, but it's a dying IP.
No, like I don't disagree with that, and that's the sad reality of it.
But who Hasbro is, they either want a horrendous amount of sum of money for it that no one's willing to pay for a dying IP, or they just cannot. Most likely, they cannot.
Yep, and then we solely exist on Sentai at this point, and that's an okay outcome for this as well, because we've gotten past the need to dub and reuse footage as well, because look to the fact that we have such a diverse media outcome now. Like we embraced anime as mainstream, we've embraced like foreign film as mainstream for the most part. Like we've seen successes with RRR, we've seen it with Parasite, we've seen it with Shin Godzilla or Godzilla -1. We've seen all of these things hit the like mainstream. We aren't as afraid of that little tiny block of text at the bottom anymore. So Sentai could exist as a marketable brand outside of Japan now. And the same thing could go for Kamen Rider. And we've seen Ultraman do insanely well over here. So those are all distinct possibilities. And then we could just license off the rest of this to whatever media company wants to continue to print the media or the toys and just use that as the brand, like a nostalgia toy. But we also see like ups and downs in franchises like Transformers and G.I. Joe. We see it with like all of the Sonic stuff. Like it's had its ups and downs, and it's not been marketable, and then it's been marketable. So depending on like the outcome of whatever this reboot is in this new season, I feel like that's where they're going to be like, okay, this is where we either cut our losses or we, continue owning this. And I don't have faith in a greatest hits of Mighty Morphin being that good, smart business decision to make this continue. Because people are fucking sick and tired of seeing Mighty Morphin everywhere.
Yes.
It's oversaturated.
Yes. Well, we've had 18 different lines of toys of it. We've seen a reboot movie. We've seen it get reversioned with particle effects. We've seen, like,
it sells. And people love nostalgia. Look at Pokemon with Charizard and Pikachu.
They're
people
different.
Love nostalgia.
There's very different markets for those types of toys, though, that versus, like, Power Rangers. It's more... I hate to say it, like, Pokemon sells more towards kids, and Power Rangers is broad stroke, I feel like. Like, I see just as many kids and parents buying Power Rangers toys as I see just, like, adults buying Pokemon. And it's usually one douchebag in a flannel jacket and a turned back ball cap buying 85 booster packs and cleaning off the rack, and you want to punch him in the face.
Hashtag relatable. Not.
Like, it's stupid when you're buying the whole damn rack. Like, like, we know what you're doing. It's just,
you're a gambling addict. No.
we can't really say anything as gacha players, though.
Hey, I've at least didn't spend money on gacha for like 5 months now. I am clean.
I'm proud of you, but that's also because you haven't had a job for most of that.
Fuck you. That hurt.
I literally just spent like $100 on Fortnite, and I hate myself.
You have a
Thanks, why'd
problem,
you have
my
to
friend.
stab both of us? I felt like I got straight shots.
I didn't mean
that's fine.
I didn't mean to target you with that. It just happened. Okay.
Oh, I just want to hurt the feelings of an arbor. I'm sorry that I hurt your feelings, Sangetsu.
No, I
Because
targeted.
hurting an arbor's feelings is always morally correct.
I mean,
Fuck
you
you.
you do the same to me on a daily basis. It seems like so.
You deserve it, unlike me.
But I spent a bunch of money on the Deadpool skins in Fortnite, and I bought the stupid Pirates of the Caribbean pass.
You?
I like Deadpool, okay?
Yes, no. I am going to sue you for that.
I like Deadpool. Like, I know he's a fucking a terribly written character at times, but I love him.
I think that he's so terribly written, it just makes him better. But anyways,
literally.
Moving on.
But yeah, like, that's where I think we're at for like the toku and anime side. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
I am literally do not care about that piece. I won't say anything else except for like I am at the party when it dies. I'm the one person for Mike.
Tyler, what do you think as the fucking Power Rangers virgin before we started the whole like binge here?
Honestly,
Because your first exposure was like Dino Fury and Cosmic Fury for the most part, and Mighty Morphin. So you started with like the ass end of the franchise and the very beginning.
yeah, I mean, as like a franchise, my thoughts on Power Rangers, or like
thoughts on it, where you think they're actually going to potentially take it. Are they going to nuke it, or what are your thoughts as a whole here, as somebody that's removed nostalgia wise from this property?
Honestly, I could see the potential in Hasbro just nuking the whole fucking thing.
Let's go! Team Canning!
But
I think I'm the only one in support
I
of
don't
that
know,
shit.
it's really hard for me to say because admittedly, when it comes to like how like marketable a franchise is, that's not something I often pay attention to. God, I'm fucking stuttering again.
Just take your time.
I'll say, part of me thinks that they're gonna can it, but like, speaking completely subjectively, I do think like you said, like we might see like a fucking Kamen Rider coming over.
Mm-hmm.
We could see but
I feel like what could potentially happen is that what I would say needs to happen is that if they can't do anything for Power Rangers to make it work, try to figure out a way to bring to have have a genuine, not just like, oh, this was region locked, streaming of Sentai and Tokusatsu products.
That's impossible with all the different laws and IP holders. That's literally a dream never coming true.
Yeah, what Oliver said.
Yeah, like it comes down to like the laws and streaming rights and like all of the fucking benefits and royalties that would have to come from that side of things, and it just becomes a whole jumbled mess. That's why like certain anime aren't over here on Netflix, for example. That's why if you use like a VPN to access Netflix, you'll have a completely different library than you do here in America. Like I have a
biggest example of that is Netflix Japan. There's no Crunchyroll Japan, so all the anime is literally streamed on Netflix over there.
Yep, literally, you have the entirety of Gundam all on one site, and I love it for that. That's how I've been binging Gundam. Because I am not.
How is it?
I am not watching the same fucking franchise on 8 different streaming services. I fucking refuse. Like it. To watch Gundam in America, you literally have to have Hulu, Netflix, goddamn Disney. You have to have fucking like High Dive or Crunchyroll for some of them. It's so stupid. Like it's split up between everything. It's the same way with Yu-Gi-Oh too. Like it's on 3 different fucking websites. I'm like, dude, just give me one. I miss when there was one fucking streaming service.
It's the same.
I miss when Netflix was new and everybody said this will never hold anything.
Like I long from the early 2010s. Damn it! It's stupid, but I do like it.
Really, I think the issue with streaming is it was like everybody thought, oh, we're gonna make a streaming service rather than it's like, all right, like
what do we watch on Peacock?
And yet, ironically, nowadays it's becoming like that because you have like programs and movies just being taken off, and it's like, oh, you're at the helm of the streaming, you're not at the helm of the network on what's on, you're at the helm of the streaming service of what's on the streaming site.
Yeah, streaming is getting more and more like cable.
There are like 2 separate bundles now. Like you can bundle Netflix.
Talk for you. That's an American only bundle.
Like Netflix and some other shit. I think Apple TV, and then you can bundle like HBO Max, Disney Plus, and fucking Hulu all in one. I'm like, that's great, and it's like $5 cheaper. I'm saving all of $5, but $5 goes a long way in this economy too. So, it's tempting. My bank account says otherwise, man.
That's like 1.5 coffee. That's nothing.
That's 2 Red Bull for me. That's 2 fucking Red Bull for me. I'll take 2 Red Bull.
That's 2.5 Red Bull for me. All right. You know what? Maybe it is going a lot. And
Us, the caffeine addicts.
A lot.
Like literally, we literally cannot function without caffeine, and it is a problem. But like literally,
talk for you. I have a 1,000 euros coffee machine in my kitchen.
Yeah, that's great. I can't stand coffee.
Best investment of my life.
I cannot stand. I have tried every kind of coffee. Like I've tried like the cappuccino. I've tried mochas. I've tried like lattes. I've tried fucking just plain black coffee. I've tried everything. I've tried different flavor notes even, and I still can't stand it. So it's
it's an acquired taste. Literally, caffeine is an acquired taste. It's poison. Your body, you need to drink more that your body recognizes that it's not poison for you.
Yeah, I think I'll sooner just inject my dick with fucking venom from a snake. Okay.
And
that's way worse, but okay.
You can also just put like milk into it.
It's like your body can process the coffee, ain't processing that.
Yeah, one is deadly, other not, but do what you want to. I am going to hold this speech on your funeral talking about how shit you were.
That's fine. I'm sure there will be plenty of people literally pissing on my grave.
I will be one of them.
That's fine.
Not because I have something against you, just for fun. Just because I always wanted to do that.
Like, literally. Like, treat mine like a public fucking toilet. I don't care. I'm dead.
True. Base opinion. Base take.
Like literally, like I find it morbid, but at the same time, like I literally have like pre-given my ashes to a service to just load me into fucking buckshot for one of my friends. Like, here, I can be your home defense, or I can kill a deer for you. Go for it. Like, what the hell is else going to happen? You can just throw a headstone somewhere in a fucking graveyard for me. Fuck it. I'm dead. Like, there's no point to just mourning it. But like,
I wish they just give my little corpse to like any kind of university, so that like a fucking idiot gets a knife to cut me up. I think that would be funny.
yeah, I
With him
mean,
like making a mistake and my blood spilling all over him, and he's like has like PTSD for the rest of his life.
they drain your fluids. You know that, right?
I know, but a boy can dream.
That's fair. Like,
Giving the dream of giving someone PTSD.
that's valid. Like stay toxic, King. But like I'm torn on like the whole Toku debate. Like I would love to see like the other franchises find some success over here, but I know like from the rights perspective, it will be harder to get it as abroad as something like Power Rangers is, where you can have it licensed out to like Pluto or like any of these ITV services, or just have it uploaded on YouTube on region locked and everything. So like I don't foresee that being like the full outcome, but I am morbidly curious like what the final result of like this auction and everything is going to be. You know, like what the whole reasoning behind it is, other than like we can manufacture the shit further, you know, and easier now than we could back in the 90s. But originally, like what I saw for the first post was the stuff from Once and Always. So at first I'm like, huh, so they're just auctioning the shit from the Netflix special that was made for that one off. But then they said like there's 900 lots of stuff that's being auctioned. I'm like, oh, they're just purging everything that they have left over that wasn't destroyed or sent back. And that, you know, makes sense because they did the same thing, I think, with a lot of the stuff that was at the Toku Museum, didn't they? Like, I'm not entirely...
I'm just going to say yes.
I'm not entirely sure on that. I figure Zangetsu would have the deepest knowledge of the Toku Museum. But, like...
No, I've never seen it. I've never seen, like, pictures of it.
Oh. I know Toei shreds a lot of their old costumes that they aren't reusing or aren't going to need again now. And then I saw on TikTok like a tour of like the Sentai Land exhibit that they have, where they had like all of the like main Sentai suits. But I think that's the majority of what's left from the Toku Museum, because it wasn't as popular of a tourist attraction as it was meant to be. I'm not 100% on that. Somebody can correct in the comments, I guess. But
I do know that they shred most of the suits in which they, like, you know, they can't salvage, because it's like the really super old suits, and then they make like a newer version of them.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know they do that, and I know they've like destroyed a bunch of old morphers and stuff and remade them for like the anniversary stuff, because they've gotten all beat up just sitting in a warehouse. I do remember that. I know recently one of the Rangers put up their fucking morpher from like Time Force for like charity. Like they had a one that they acquired, we'll say, from set, and they're selling it for charity because it's past the statute of limitation for stealing it.
And they didn't really care. It was like there were so many times in which like cast kept losing morphers, and they had to just keep buying them.
Like literally,
Toys.
it's missing like the battery back and everything. It's fucking funny. So they put it up for auction. I forget which Time Force Ranger it was, but it was just listed for like a charity auction. I'm like, that's cool. I don't have enough for even the starting bid at the time, because it was starting at like $10,000 fucking dollars. Like that's way out of my tax bracket. That'd be a cool piece of history, and like obviously like any of the stuff that's at the fucking like auction is going to be cool for a collector to have. Like the suits are starting at absurd amounts of money because the company that's behind it is pretty shady and and of themselves, and I'm not a fan of them using that for it, but it's the most mainstream one. But other than that, like, I know we'll eventually hit it again in probably a year or two talking about the MCU, but I want to cycle back to the original topic before we end, just to kind of put a bow on this. Like, for Phase 6, out of everything, those that are interested in the MCU, what are you most looking forward to? Because I want to try and end this on a positive note as well.
I'm just looking forward to a decent Fantastic Four movie.
You know what? That's fair. So just to remind, for Phase 6, we have... I don't know why I closed it. For Phase 6...
Oh, go ahead.
Phase 6 will include the end of the multiverse saga. So right now we have Fantastic Four, First Steps, Blade, Avengers Doomsday, and Avengers Secret War as the projects that are announced so far. And then in the shows, we have a Vision series. Those are all that are announced so far. There's usually 5 films. So we're missing 1 film here. And there's supposed to be, I think, 4 shows that were there.
I think the reason why it's being so like weighted at Phase 6 is because of the fact that it's Secret Wars, and isn't Secret Wars like one of the big storylines of the Marvel comics?
Secret Wars.
Yeah.
In both iterations of it, the original one in the 80s, I think, and then the one that was happening when I was in college, 2015, 2016, were both like big conclusive events to like massive storylines. And then the 2015, 2016 one helped lead into the fall that would be Civil War 2, which is why we will need a second fucking Tony Stark to play the Iron Man role, or what will likely happen, because he's already kind of Iron Man light in the MCU, is Spider-Man will be the anchor fighting fucking Captain Marvel instead. Since we seem to be focusing heavily on Spidey and Captain Marvel as the 2 like leaders, so to speak. I'm looking forward to Secret War most of all. I love the Fantastic Four for what they are, the very flawed first family of Marvel. I love Doom. I think everything that they're doing with Doom so far that they've announced is fucking stupid, though. Like, I don't like having I don't mind a character playing a second, or an actor playing a second character. I don't mind that. I mind the fact that this is recognizably the face of the first era of the MCU. And if they go with, like, this is a Tony Stark variant, it ruins the sacrifice from the end of Endgame, to me.
Yeah, and it more than likely will be a Tony Stark variant, because I'm looking on here that there was a Tony Stark variant called the Iron Manic, which basically Maniac, which opposed Rich Reavers, became adopted an armor that resembled Doctor Doom and was sent to the main Marvel universe.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what they'll probably do. But like I said, the one I'm most interested in is just the Fantastic Four movie, because the 2 times that they've tried to adapt the Fantastic Four, they've not really been successful. So it's just give us something good with the Fantastic Four.
So for the record, I've walked out of 3 movies in my entire existence, and the Fantastic Four reboot was one of them. So yeah, the fact that I walked out of that tells you how bad it was. I wouldn't say, like, in retrospect it was as bad as I remember, because I watched it recently. It's just not a good Fantastic Four movie. Like, it has like 3 sets in the entire film, and I feel like they didn't want to do a lot because they wanted to set up stuff, and it bombed so bad that they're just like, well, that's a wash. So
well, they seem to be setting. It looks like they're going to be setting stuff up for the next phase after the multiverse, because they've got Galactus in it.
Yeah, and let's be real here. It being called the First Steps is essentially like having the origins of the Fantastic Four, which we've seen twice now already. I find it funny that they didn't want to re-show like Uncle Ben dying because we've seen that, at the time twice before. But yeah, it's interesting. I like Secret Wars as an idea because it sets up so much, and it is such a pivotal moment of like the MCU and the comics in general. But at the same time, I don't like how they're setting it up again. Like I'm very, very curious how they'll handle Blade as well. And I'm not going to say why I'm curious why they'll handle Blade, but you'll understand once you see Deadpool. And that's another reason why I had brought this topic forward, is because of like all the cameos for the Multiverse Saga. I knew like Phase 6 was going to be the end of the Multiverse Saga. I didn't expect them to end the Kang story come Avengers Doomsday, though. Like, that seems like it would have been like the finale movies thing to end, and then go into this whole Secret Wars, Civil War 2 stuff, right? But before we go into like the rest of y'all's like what you're looking forward to, the movies have never been a one-to-one adaptation of comics. That's the thing that a lot of people seem to forget when they're making these little rant videos, myself included. I'm at fault for this as well. These are never one-to-one from the comics. Obviously, we take liberties with the source material because it is a fucking adaptation, right? We're always going to see different ideas brought through, but it was at one point clear what stories we were taking those ideas from, right? If you were a comic fan, you were able to pick, like, oh, this is from blah, blah, blah comic. This is from this run. This is from this one. And what really opened my eyes a lot is because, like, once we started the Multiverse Saga, it very much became more cinema first, homage second. When we got to like Ant-Man and Quantumania, it really wasn't pulling anything from the Ant-Man mythos outside of like, oh, here's the quantum realm, and here's a couple characters that have appeared in there, but there wasn't really a story adapted to what I could tell. There and in No Way Home, it was very much just a nostalgia fest playing on the multiverse theory with a couple of like, oh, here's a character that appeared in this comic. Here's a character that appeared in this comic. We're not really taking any inspiration from any particular run. And it seemed more and more that's the way we're going. We had little, outside of like the Multiverse of Madness, we had more homage to like House of M and stuff in there. But other than that, we really haven't been doing that. And I feel like a lot of the reason behind that, I don't know if you guys have realized, like, how little the authors and artists are getting paid in royalties for their stuff being used. And Disney keeps getting called out on that. So I feel like that's why they've pivoted to this direction. So you'll have little nods, but you won't really have a particular run that people can pinpoint and be like, hey, how much did so-and-so get paid for this? That's my theory on that.
Do you remember the Scarlett Johansson, the Scarlett Johansson sued Disney after her movie?
Yes, we've talked a little bit about that. I forget like if it was on video or not on video though. It might have also been my other group chat that I did this in. But yeah, it was like, because her run for Black Widow was split between Disney Plus and theatrical, she did not make a lot of money.
Yes, no, literally, her contract said it will be only a theatrical release, but it was a hybrid release, so it was a break of contract, a breach of contract, I think it was said.
Yeah, it was a breach of contract, and she also sued them for back royalties and I don't know if she was removed from her Marvel contract entirely or an extension to make amends for that. I think that was actually the end of her contract. So it was just like back royalties, actually. And they weren't going to reuse her in What If after that, because they were originally planning to do that.
Just never touch Scarlett Johansson again after that.
Yeah.
And I think for her, that's for the better.
Yeah, literally, because, like, well, realistically, was it? You know, like, I feel like a lot of it comes down to her agent being fucking stupid, because like the same agent that was dealing with that case also roped her into the fucking AI voice thing too.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the rest of you, what are you looking forward to in the MCU?
First, it was just in cinema in general, not just the MCU. Decide.
Well, I was tying it back to the opening topic here and trying to
Yeah,
end it on a
Kinda
positive
tapped out
note.
on it, to be honest.
I'll be honest.
Don't have any interest in it anymore.
I literally do not care for it.
Okay.
So Tyler, the floor is yours.
I hope the Fantastic Four movie's good, just so we can say we have a good Fantastic Four movie. Because
The bar is the
right.
floor.
Yeah.
I want it to be garbage. Just so it's garbage again.
No, I know, but don't be
No,
negative.
it would stick out if it's good, and I don't want it. Shouldn't stick out. It should be just as any other Fantastic Four movie. Piece of shit. And I'm not for it. Shit should stick to being shit.
You know,
Alright.
I'm not going to disagree
it
with
makes
you
sense that you're a Fate fan, Ann Arbor.
I'm not going to disagree with what you said, because I also would find it absolutely hilarious after all of the absurd spending in that movie that it turned out shit. Right? Because they offered, I think, Pedro Pascal like $150 million just to appear in the movie, and then his contract also is extended throughout like 4 or 5 other movies. And also the fact that they offered Robert Downey Jr. like $800 million to be fucking Doctor Doom for like
80 million.
Is it 80? I thought it was 800.
It's 80.
Well, still,
that's an absurd
that is
amount.
like buying a mansion in the Hollywood Hills money. Okay, he doesn't need that much money to play a role.
That money is so fucking. The amount of money that is unfeasible for people like us.
Right, literally.
Yeah, and you see what happens when people like us get that absurd amount of money. Where with cases to do with the lottery, they just don't have any idea how to use it.
No, literally, we don't. Like, it's insane. Like, I'm all for paying actors and artists and all that shit what they deserve, but I do not think that Robert Downey Jr. needs another multi-million-dollar contract after the success of Oppenheimer and after the success of Iron Man and all of that shit.
I think in general, actors do not deserve 80 million for a movie.
No, literally, like anything above $1 million for something is ridiculous to me. Like,
yes, even $1 million is ridiculous in my opinion.
No, like I don't disagree. I know like they'll probably, because Galactus is appearing, they'll probably throw Silver Surfer in there.
They have it. Silver Surfer has already been cast for the film.
Right, but we haven't seen it. We haven't seen the actual like casting or any of that shit. And then we have the for Secret War. I'm very curious, like what direction they're going to take is all. That's a 3. But I'm also very interested in like if we make it out of Phase 6, what direction they're going to take it. Because I know they've also announced like an X-Men movie. They've announced a couple other one-offs for it. So it's
Here you go. Yeah, I've just sent you facts.
What the rest of the MCU's schedule looks
like.
No.
Who's playing the Silver Surfer?
Oh, Julia Garner. Okay, so she's playing a female Silver Surfer. Okay.
Yeah, she's playing the female version of the Silver Surfer.
Cool. I've got nothing against that. Like, cool. Good for her. Women power. But like outside of that, like it's very touch and go with what it will be, because like if this phase and the next phase, because we're near the end of this phase, doesn't do well, I don't picture the MCU continuing, because Disney will see it as like a risk.
Yeah.
So it might go to like the 1 off, 2 off, 3 off Marvel movie. And it, with everything that Deadpool potentially set up and didn't set up at the same time, because it's Deadpool, you know, toying with the fourth wall is his whole shtick. It's going to be sad to see that potential setup go. But at the same time, I would be all for it turning into like 1-off and 2-off movies again, and then recapturing that fucking feeling of like, you know, an event instead of a chore. But outside of the MCU, what films and what directions would you want to see them go into? Because there's a lot of stuff that's been announced that I'm sure a lot of you are interested in, just so everybody can have an opinion of positivity to end the fucking call with.
I would say just give just give us
Just
films
give me $18 million.
have
Literally.
that we can have fun with again.
That's a good point, actually. Like, having fun with a movie again is something that we don't really see a lot of.
Like yeah, it can be a serious film, but at the same time, I would want one that has fun with how serious it's being as well.
That's what I liked about that recent Resident Evil. Like, it wasn't taking itself seriously at all, but it was also a bad movie. The Welcome to Raccoon City. It was just a bad fucking movie.
Or if you're gonna make a bad film, have put as much fun and effort into how bad it is.
Yeah.
Investors are not on board with it, so that's pretty unrealistic, even though I would like that too.
Like, think the Winnie the Pooh horror movies.
That was base as fuck.
Like, they sucked.
Give us a Mickey Mouse horror film.
They are. They are.
It's
They're doing they're doing a Steamboat Willie one. Like, they announced that like 6.5 months ago, it seems like. Right as the damn IP expired, they announced like, hey, we're doing this.
They literally
the
waited
day it expired.
Second.
Like,
I think
they did.
They have heroes.
Like, and we also are getting a Steamboat Willie horror game because of course we fucking are. I both love and hate the fucking twisted fairy tale thing. Like, it's like I found it funny when they were doing just like fucking Winnie the Pooh, but the fact that they're turning it into like a whole cinematic universe is stupid to me. But it could be fun. Like, it could be fun because it's just schlocky B horror. The second one wasn't bad either. I did finally sit down and watch it. It was not bad. I did not spend fucking $13 in the theater to see it, but I did see it.
I still need to see them.
They're fun. They're both on Amazon Prime at this point. I don't know if they're in Germany though. You might need a VPN.
If I had Amazon Prime, if I had money for that shit.
Well, I'm sure you can acquire them very easily on the internet, considering I don't think the director gives a shit.
I would never pirate stuff. I have a heart. I want to support those people. Can you hear my beating heart?
It's
no.
It sounds like a goddamn Rose toy.
Yeah. You mean
it sounds like I'm beating up your mom.
Go for it.
Did you mean the Winnie the Pooh films?
Yes,
effects?
They're both on
Yeah,
Amazon
there's a
Prime.
sequel to that coming out as well.
Yeah, I know it's already out.
No, there's a third one coming.
That's not at all shocking. They're doing a whole cinematic universe.
Based. I hope they just make the shit, make some fun of the shit that is a cinematic universe. Because that's a fucking garbage idea.
Oh my god! Oh my god! I've just seen it on Wikipedia about how the director of the Winnie the Pooh films has expressed interest, and this is so funny that I kind of want to see it now. Doing a film, I don't know if he wants to do it as horror, but I hope it's horror, of the Teletubbies. That would be so funny.
Time for Tubby bye-bye.
I want them to reference the child that literally used a knife to put a hole in itself. They need to make a reference to it, or show it on screen.
Like,
please, give us a horror film Teletubbies.
There's already fucking nightmare fuel. What the hell are you talking about?
They don't have a scene of like one of the Teletubbies like murdering somebody with the purse.
I think
Tinky Winky needs to beat somebody up with a strap on. Okay, I'm advocating with that.
Yeah,
we are already 2.5 hours in. I would also like to wrap it up real quickly.
Yeah. So like my dream like film. What?
Oh my god,
Ah,
there's
that's
also
lying, I'm
there's also Bambi the Reckoning. There is Bambi the
Yep.
Reckoning.
Yep, that's the next one I think that comes out. Like like just Dream for me, like film wise, is a good new batch of Resident Evil animation. Like I want new Resident Evil animation because they are so fucking absurd in what they do in the animated movies. I'm sure anybody has seen the clips of like Leon and Chris tossing guns around on the fucking ship, doing like handstands on bikes, and it's just insane what they can do in that. I want more of that. But I want it to be like a theatrical length movie instead of like a 45-minute Netflix movie. That's what I want. Stop trying to make Resident Evil live action, make it an animation.
Yeah.
Anybody else got wish lists for films or ideas going forward?
Honestly, right now the only thing on my wish list is Beyond the Spider-Verse.
Fair enough.
Like I got fingers crossed on that.
I don't see that ever being bad, so I don't really need to have faith in that one. But if it turns out bad, I might just end my life in the theater. Like,
oh, that would be funny.
Like that,
like traumatizing 100 children who are watching it with you.
I don't care.
That would be funny.
You know, like that. I have so much faith in that continuing the success of that franchise that it would be devastating for it to suck.
I think Sony made a great job not selling the IP to Disney.
I do too.
Just licensing it. Yeah.
Zangetsu.
But I'm looking forward to. All right, Zangetsu go first. Zangetsu's dead.
No, I'm here. But it's just like I'm really, because I hadn't been really going to theaters that much. The only film I'm thinking about going to recently is like the Twister movie because it's just dumb fun.
I've heard it's good.
I like Bobby.
Barbenheimer will never be replicated. Stop trying for it, internet.
Yeah, it was a great time. Yeah, what I'm looking forward to is the new series on Kontrolled Khaos. No,
I know we gotta do the video game book club at some point.
I already shot myself anyway, so who cares? Yeah, I like Zangetsu. The last time I was in kino was for Godzilla, and only because my friend pulled me over there, so I am outside for once, touching grass and shit.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm really not looking forward to anything because movies are garbage. Everybody should play more. Everybody should get their PS5 and play some good old Kingdom Hearts.
I will advocate for that. Could you imagine if they actually made the animated series that has been rumored for years and years and years?
Imagine. I hear rumors of it every fucking year.
I really do believe it is something that was probably in production at some point and got scrapped. You know, we have a whole ass fucking Alien series sitting in the vault at Disney now. So why wouldn't there be a Kingdom Hearts 1?
Yeah, because they do not want to talk about people dying, aka falling into darkness.
We don't want to hear the word darkness 85 times in one episode because one edgy little emo boy with white hair has to fucking have his own little meltdown, okay?
But you need to understand, it's not about the darkness in your heart, it's about the darkness in your heart. That is going to consume the light in your heart and turn you into a being of pure and utter darkness.
We really need to make that whole meme video at some point, too, for Kingdom Hearts.
Would be so... The Kingdom Hearts lore in a nutshell, with drunk Vex, drunken Arbor, and drunken Red.
And depending on when you do that, drunk Tyler.
I'm all for having like a whole ass cast there while I just sit here and drunkenly ramble while Ann Arbor screams at me for 3 hours. And with that, peace.